Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning and a very happy Monday to you all. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. Appreciate you making us part of your start on your brand new work week, whether you are listening to us on the radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available to stream online at sportstalk1051.com. You've got your Alexa devices, your Google and Alexa devices. You got the Wisco Sports App, the video stream also up and rolling. Multiple different ways for you to be joining in here this morning. But what do we have on our loaded up game plan for this morning? Lots to catch up on from over the weekend. Super Bowl is officially in the books, and the Seattle Seahawks are your new Super Bowl champions. Super Bowl 60 champions, 29-13 victory for the Seahawks last night over the New England Patriots. Kenneth Walker, running back for Seattle, being named the game's MVP, but it was a pretty defensive-led, defensive-dominating game from last night. And, throughout the first three quarters, really wasn't a whole lot of scoring besides field goals. So if you're a kicker or you're a special teams person, you're probably fine with it. But defensive touchdown for Seattle in the game last night kind of opened it up a little bit and kind of, was like really put it out of touch there. But nonetheless, Seattle capturing their second Super Bowl, second under the former Packers executive, De Pure native John Schneider era. So we'll recap it and kind of put the bow on this season, on this football season. So now we get into the offseason. We get into draft stuff, combines, free agency, all that good stuff. So speaking of all that, we'll have a couple of Packers rumors in terms of free agents that popped up over the weekend. We're going to hit that up. One kind of centering around Romeo Doubs. Could he actually return to Green Bay? We're going to hit that up and chat a little bit about that now as we have an eye towards the offseason here for Green Bay. But with the NFL season now in the books, we're not that far off from baseball season. So pitchers and catchers reporting in just a couple days here for the Brewers. We're going to start to talk a little bit more and more about the Brewers and the upcoming 2026 season and such. Got MLB.com listed each team's top storyline entering spring training. And looking at the Brewers one, kind of curious to see if Brewers fans agree with it or not. What they've got on MLB.com is they got to sort through a deep but unproven pitching department. It says even after trading Freddie Peralta, Milwaukee officials believe that run prevention will remain a strength. It starts with a healthy Brandon Woodruff, the only pitcher on the roster with a season of 25-plus big league starts on his resume. After that, the Brewers have a long list of promising but unproven starters. Mazeroski, Priester, Robert Gasser, Logan Henderson, Brandon Sproat. But who cracks the opening roster? Who winds up in the bullpen? Do they have enough to defend the National League Central crown? So we'll hit that up and talk plenty more baseball this morning. So also on the docket, we're going to talk some hoops. Bucks making an intriguing signing in free agency. So they did really hardly do anything by the trade deadline, but they signed Cam Thomas, a former guard from the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm intrigued with this one because, first of all, he's still 24 years old. Over the past 3 seasons, he has averaged 21.4 points per game. Now, this year, he's only averaging a little over 15, But in the 2 previous years, he had been averaging over 20 points per game. So it was kind of a somewhat surprising move over the summer or over the with this release. But I'm intrigued with this. I'm intrigued with this. Thomas said, quote, I picked Milwaukee because they wanted me and they told me they've been interested for years now. So it's good to have this opportunity come to fruition. And I'm just hoping to meet everybody and get to know everybody and contribute as soon as possible. So possibly maybe another guy who could create, another scorer to help alleviate some of that pressure from maybe one Giannis or this team overall, because without Giannis, they've been struggling at times. But I kind of like this one. And I hope that this works out to maybe it's a long-term deal afterwards, after the offseason and such. But it was kind of interesting, too, because one of the rumors out there was that the Bucks did engage with the Nets about a potential deal. So the fact that they were able to pick him up in free agency is a big win, I think, for the Bucks at this point. So speaking of the Bucks, they're going to be back at it tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. So it'll be a tough game for the Bucks going up against the Magic, who are currently right now in that 7th spot in the Eastern Conference standings. The Bucks still riding that 12th spot. They are 2.5 games behind the Charlotte Hornets, but the Bucks will be looking to extending their winning streak to 4. So tip time for tonight's game, 6:30. Coverage will begin at about 6 p.m. on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. So talk some hoops. Not a great weekend for Badger basketball, falling in overtime against Indiana. Maybe questionable foul call at the end there, but the Badgers had to make a comeback effort after a slow start to begin that game. So now things get really interesting for this Badger men's basketball team, because you look at their next 2 games starting tomorrow. They got to go up against 5th-ranked Illinois. And then Friday the 13th, take it on 10th-ranked Michigan State. So, yeah, things don't get any easier for Wisconsin, who is currently 7th in the Big Ten after that loss to Illinois. 16-7 overall on the season. But Marquette picking up a win over the weekend, too, taking down Butler. So plenty of hoops coming at you. It is a Monday, which means I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Send over yours, best ones. We'll read up on the air. It is also the VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. So what was the best stuff? What was the worst from the weekend? So got that. We'll do some local sports roundup presented by Carpet City Flooring Center when our buddy Justice Cleveland joins us a little bit later on in the program. That's your game plan for us this morning. We got lots to get to, so let's pitter-patter. Let's get at her, shall we? Let's get things rocking and a-rolling here this morning. We'll take our first break, and then we've got the leadoff coming up after these really quick words.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. The 715's voice for sports. WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. The 715's voice for sports.
When joint pain, stiffness, or injury affects your daily life, turn to Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Their experienced physicians and care teams provide comprehensive orthopedic care for shoulders, hips, knees, backs, and more. Focused on helping you move comfortably again. From diagnosis to treatment and recovery, you'll receive personalized care close to home. Learn more or schedule an appointment today by visiting cvosm.com. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, expert care to keep you moving. All right. Let's talk a little football here as we put a bow on this 2025/26 NFL season. Seahawks are your Super Bowl champs. Super Bowl champs. And kind of went the way that I think a lot of people wondered if it was going to go. Defense, right? I mean, kind of both sides, too. You look at the first couple quarters and such. Yeah, Seattle was able to get a couple of field goals and such, but New England able to keep them out of the end zone when they would approach the red zone and such. So defense really had its way in a very aggressive style of defense. And honestly, it kind of is I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying every Packers fan's probably thinking this way, but I'm just saying that I think a majority of Packers fans are looking at those defensive performances last night, maybe specifically Seattle, and saying that's what we want. That's what we want from our defense. We want a little aggressive. We want to get after the quarterback. You know, whether it was getting home with four down linemen or bringing some extra heat, not giving any time to either Sam Darnold or Drake May. It almost felt like the defense came in with the mindset or the thought that we don't trust you, or we don't. I don't want to say. I think respect is a little too strong, but we don't believe that you can maybe handle the pressure that we're going to give you, because I feel like a lot of times when we talk about some of the great quarterbacks, and this is not, I'm not trying to knock Sam Darnold or Drake May, because Drake May was almost an MVP this year, but he is young. I mean, second-year guy. But it almost felt like, maybe it was just me, but it almost felt like the defense came in with a mindset, all right, we're really going to test you guys, both Darnold and specifically Drake May in this case too. Because a lot of times you don't see these defenses just going full-out blitz against some of the great quarterbacks, right? The great quarterbacks, just kind of maybe it's kind of like a boxing fight. Maybe you just kind of feel each other out a little bit. Now, these defenses were uber aggressive and putting the noise down. And I'm sitting there watching that game last night thinking, man, I think a lot of, trying to put a little Packers spin on this thing and saying, man, I wouldn't mind if we saw Green Bay's defense doing this. Like, part of me was thinking, hey, now I hope Jonathan Gannon's kind of watching this game and saying, all right, I got a guy like Micah Parsons and such. Maybe I can utilize this. But you had a Seattle secondary, too, that was just in fuego, playing incredibly well, playing physical football. It just felt like Seattle's defense knew exactly what Josh McDaniels was going to call or what New England's offense was going to do. It was just straight up pure domination. If you didn't watch the game, if you didn't watch a quarter, a snap, or whatever, and you're just looking at the box score and you're going to say, well, Drake May almost threw for 300 yards. What are you talking about? Drake May struggled for like 75, 80% of that game. They didn't get a first down. They got a first down in the first quarter and didn't get another one until late in the third, early on in the third, and I think it was via penalty. So, I mean, it was straight up domination from this Seattle defense. And you just got to tip your cap to it. You got to tip your cap to that thing. And yeah, I was kind of jealous as a Packers fan because I want to see that happen, going forward. I know it's a tough task and such, but man, that was super impressive. It felt like the defense, even with Drake May, nearly great season, fantastic season, entering his second year, nearly winning the MVP. It just felt like Seattle was going to say, all right, we're really going to test you. We're really, and even New England too. I mean, that secondary, they were putting a ton of pressure on Sam Darnold, jumping routes. Both defenses were being uber aggressive in that game. So what was it? Kind of a boring one because there wasn't a lot of scoring right away and not a lot of plays. Yeah, let's call a spade a spade. It was kind of, you love yourself some defense, and there's nothing wrong with that by any means. But if you want big offensive plays and flashy plays and such, it probably wasn't the game for you. But if you appreciate good defenses and solid defenses and aggressive defenses, that was the game for you last night. But again, I'm not saying that it's going to be completely the same, but I'm just saying, dude, I wouldn't mind Green Bay playing a little defense like we saw from Seattle last night. Woo! Yeah. Sam Darnold, 19 of 38, just 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 sack. But it was the Kenneth Walker game. Nailed that pick. Fist pump, pat on the back. 27 carries, 135 yards for him. But honestly, you probably could have maybe, it was Kenneth Walker had himself a fantastic night. Didn't score a touchdown in that, but defensively, if you wanted to give that MVP award to the entire Seattle defense, I don't think anybody would have argued too much. Drake May, again, he nearly threw 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but he was sacked 6 times. He had a QBR of 16.3. May even led the team in rushing. 5 carries for 37 yards. It just felt like Mike McDonald, the play caller, head coach for Seattle, was just in Josh McDaniels' head and knew what New England was going to be doing offensively and was just like, we are going to set the tone. Like, I appreciated both defenses last night coming in with the mindset of, we are going to set this tone. We're not going to sit back and we're not going to, just kind of, again, use the boxing reference, kind of dance around, feel each other out, what you're going to do, what you're going to try to do. I appreciated the fact that both these defenses right away came out with the mindset and the mentality to say, we are the ones that are going to set the tone. And we're going to come out hot and we're going to come out aggressive right away in this game. And it was impressive. impressive. So, but trying to, thinking of or watching that game last night, I was just sitting there. I'm like, man, I really hope Jonathan Cannon's watching some of this and maybe getting some ideas. Not to say what worked this year is going to work exactly like or exactly the same for next year, or even like Goody, Brian Gutekunst, I know in his presser last week said he normally wouldn't care about Super Bowl, but obviously with John Schneider and Elliot Wolf, the GMs of both these teams in it, good friends of his, former coworkers of his, he was going to watch a little bit. I kind of hope he was watching like, okay, yeah, I need to maybe get a couple corners and maybe get some more depth on the defensive line and such if we want to kind of build a defense that way. But, yeah, no doubt. Looking at those two teams, or maybe just kind of Seattle in this instance, how far away do you think Green Bay is to, if we use Seattle as the example, because they are the champs, they are now the Super Bowl champs, okay? If we use them as the barometer or the gauge here, how far do you think Green Bay is from getting to that level? Offensively, I would put them nearly on par. I know they had Jackson Smith-Njigba as the offensive player of the year, and you had Kenneth Walker winning the game's MVP. But overall, offensively, I think Green Bay's right there. And if you want to say they're even a little bit above it, I think they've got talent all across the board on the offense. The one big thing is the difference, offensive line. That's the biggest thing Green Bay has to figure out compared to Seattle, is they got to figure out the offensive line and get better up front. Because the way those two defenses were super aggressive, I don't think Green Bay's offensive line would have been able to hold up and protect Jordan Love. While, Sam Darnold was under duress and forced a lot of throws and such, he was only sacked one time in the game. I don't think that, in New England, 6 quarterback hits compared to Seattle, who had 11 quarterback hits. I don't think Green Bay's offensive line would have been able to hold up. Now, defensively, yeah, there's definitely some holes. And I think you look at it from a corner standpoint. I think you look at it, from a depth up front and such. That's where Green Bay is definitely behind the 8 ball. And not to be overlooked, you look at some of the special teams issues too. You had these two teams, they were both solid in the special teams department, from not just, when we talk about special teams, I think a lot of people just assume the kicking game, specifically maybe the field goal game. But you look at it from punting to coverage and return units. Obviously, Rashid Shaheed, great returner from Seattle, but New England did a fantastic job of neutralizing him in this game and taking him out of the game. So there's definitely a few areas where Green Bay's got some catching up to do when it comes to, if we use Seattle as a comparison, they've got some work to do to catch up to them. And I would say specifically it's offensive line. You look at defense and such, and definitely special teams. So C-Bomb says, you stole the point. Basically what I wanted to say, I'm not saying these defenses are overrated. I'm saying they didn't face quarterbacks that could counterpunch their scheme. You said it, offensively, we've got the weapons, but our line is awful. Seattle would have had their way with us. We never would have gotten to the Super Bowl. Priority number one has to be to shore up that offensive line. Which, okay, I'll throw this into a question. We already know C-Bomb's pick. But if we, again, use Seattle as the example, what do you think the biggest priority is for Green Bay to say compete against Seattle? Again, we're using Seattle as the example because they are now the champs. What is the biggest priority Green Bay has to address in the offseason to maybe competes or take down Seattle however you want. We know Seabaum's pick. It's offensive line. Do the rest of you agree? Do the rest of you say, nah, they got to get better at corner, or they got to get better depth at the defensive line? Where are you at? We'll take a quick break and get some of your responses. Coming up after these quick words. When it comes to great meat, go where the locals go. That's Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. From hand-cut steaks and fresh ground beef to quality roasts and specialty cuts, this is a true neighborhood meat shop and butcher that you can trust. Friendly service, expert cuts, and meat done right every single time. Stop by Mike's Star Market today at 2238 Hempstead Road in Eau Claire and taste the difference that a real butcher makes. Mike's Star Market, quality you can see and flavor that you can taste. You know, the other thing, too, that I think when you look back at Seattle and this year, John Schneider, the general manager for Seattle, that guy made some aggressive moves in this offseason. Just to remind people what he did. First of all, you signed Sam Darnold to a 3-year, over $100 million contract. You move on from Geno Smith, who I think it's probably safe to say resurrected his career with Seattle, right? I mean, when he got a chance under Pete Carroll and for the last couple of years, Geno Smith was putting together some solid numbers with Seattle. You look at 2022. 9-8, nearly a 70% completion percentage, threw for 30 touchdown passes. 2023, 20 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions, 21 touchdown passes. But you can kind of maybe see, all right, a little bit maybe trending downward and such. So what does he do? Instead of staying status quo, ships him off to the Raiders, brings in Sam Darnold, who had a great regular season with Minnesota, but there was questions. Okay, what about big games, big moments? Remember the playoff game against the Rams and such. But instead of staying status quo, changed it up. Committed to Sam Darnold. And what else did he do? Traded DK Metcalf. Shipped off DK Metcalf to Pittsburgh. So completely retooling the offense. Trading your starting quarterback, trading your number one wide receiver, and bringing in, Sam Darnold and essentially handing the keys to Jackson Smith-Njigba to be the number one, but then brings in Cooper Kupp, right? Cooper Kupp released from the Rams. People were wondering, all right, is he kind of done? Has he hit his peak and such? And Cooper Kupp didn't have an all-pro type of season. 593 receiving yards in the regular season. But to be like a number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, the experience that he brings in and such, looking back at it now, might have been a good move. And then the other move that I don't think gets talked about enough was Dexter Lawrence, the defensive tackle. Now, remember, Dexter Lawrence, when he came over to Seattle, or not Dexter Lawrence, DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm sorry, Dexter's the Giants. DeMarcus, misspoke. But DeMarcus Lawrence, when he came over from Dallas, there was like, okay, that's kind of a risky one. He had suffered a foot injury, didn't quite know if he was going to be the same type of player that he was with Dallas. There was some major questions about it. Been with Dallas for a long time, veteran up there too. People were wondering about the age. He comes in, plays 16 games, gives them 6 sacks on the season too. But making those types of moves, making those types of signings, making some risky moves. Right? Not many teams would say, all right, we're going to start over completely at quarterback. We're going to trade our starting quarterback. We're going to bring in this other guy. We're going to trade our number one wide receiver. We're going to bring in a veteran defensive player that's had some history of some injuries and, maybe getting a little bit along in it too. Same with the wide receiver, Cooper Kupp. And those moves all factored into Seattle becoming the Super Bowl champion. So John Schneider deserves a big time tip of the cap for the job that he did the offseason, making some, I would say, bold moves, aggressive moves, risky moves. A lot of them worked out. Now, that's not to say every risky move or bold move is going to work out, but you got to give him a lot of credit too. And I think a lot of it was, okay, we got a new head coach and Mike McDonald. We got, all this other stuff in play. Let's build the team around what our head coach wants. And after the first year, their offensive coordinator didn't work out, so they bring in Kubiak. Okay, let's bring in some guys that maybe work better within the mindset of the offense that we have. Not trying to fit square pegs into round holes. It was from the outside, at least in my opinion, from the outside, this looked like such a cohesive offseason from Seattle. Everybody was on the same page, making these moves, fitting, trying to make the perfect fits for their personnel to what the coaching staff and the scheme want to do. It was, because I know we all talked about it. I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting, offseason from Seattle. Some risky stuff. Okay. All right. Well, they got to go up against the Rams and they got to go up against the 49ers. Good luck, Seattle. They know more than anybody. So, but just an example, too, of one offseason. Really, one offseason can make the difference. Making smart moves, smart decisions, makes a huge difference, too. So I am curious to see, kind of spinning it back to Green Bay in this thing. I think we're all kind of anxious, curious to see what's going to happen. And speaking of wide receiver, there was a rumor over the weekend. Was it Jeremy Fowler, one of the ESPN guys, said that maybe don't shut. Yeah, it was Jeremy Fowler. According to ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler, the Packers will at least speak with Dobbs' representatives and try to reach a reasonable contract for both sides. Quote, the Packers could try to re-sign free agent receiver Romeo Dobbs and or extend tight end Tucker Kraft. The door isn't closed on Dobbs in Green Bay. I'm expecting both sides to at least have some dialogue and see if a return makes sense. I guess depending on what the money is, but here's the thing. Watson is the number one guy. Jaden Reed is one of your playmakers. You invested a first-round pick into Matthew Golden. Dontavian Wicks for depth, not a bad option either. So much of this for Romeo Dobbs is going to come down for Green Bay to keep him and such, is got to come down to the money. It has got to be a bargain. Romeo Dobbs had some great moments. I know it's going to be overshadowed because of the offensive or the onside kick. But guy made some tough catches in the playoff game against Chicago. Was kind of a nice safety net for Jordan Love. There's no denying that. But to me, when you have a salary cap and a budget, and I don't know if that would be the smartest play for Green Bay to try to bring back Romeo Dobbs. On the flip side, how aggressive do they want to be in this maybe 2-3 year window to say, all right, we want to bring back as much talent as possible because we know the window is right now. We got to win right now. But then again, is that the biggest need? No, I'd say, okay, can we invest a little bit more in the offensive line? Can we invest in maybe using that money towards bringing in a corner? Maybe getting some more depth on the defensive line? Because I look at both these teams, New England and Seattle. Yes, Seattle had the Offensive Player of the Year in Jackson Smith-Njigba. They had a veteran in Cooper Kupp. Can anybody else name some of their other receivers? I don't want it to be a situation where it's like Cincinnati has paid boatloads of cash to two wide receivers and they don't have anything else left for offensive line and defense. You got Tucker Kraft. You got Jaden Reed. You've got Christian Watson. I'm not down on Golden. I think lack of opportunities for him. We got to give that guy more opportunities. So nothing against Romeo. I don't think that should be a big priority for Green Bay this offseason. Use those resources for somewhere else. All right, we got to take our final break. But again, kind of looking at if we use Seattle as the gauge, as the barometer, as the example, how far away do you think Green Bay is to Seattle? And given what we saw last night and maybe throughout the season, what is the biggest need for Green Bay to address in the offseason to maybe take down Seattle? Again, using them as the example because they are the champs. Hit me up with your text, 715-830-1912. Quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up the first hour after these quick words. When it's time to shop, make it simple on yourself. Head on over to Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From fresh produce and bakery favorites to pantry staples, household items, and everyday essentials, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire makes it simple to get everything you need in one stop. With friendly service, a great selection, and helpful employees ready to assist, shopping is always convenient. Shop in store, shop online, or use curbside pickup and save time every week. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, where there is a helpful smile in every single aisle. I got a couple texts here. We've got number 1, offensive line. Number 2, defensive line. Signing big uglies isn't always sexy, but it wins at championships. C-Bob says, Dobbs is a solid wide receiver, but if we are going to spend a bunch or possibly overspend, I would rather it be for Tucker Kraft. You hit on all the reasons why with our loaded wide receiver room. 87 made a lot of key catches and was a big contributor to this team, but they are not going to be able to afford what he will get elsewhere. I think he will end up in Miami. I agree with a lot of those points as well, C-Bomb. I think I hope Green Bay doesn't. I get Romeo's really close to Jordan Love and such, and they're but I just, from a business standpoint, from all that, I hope they don't get so aggressive and really try to lock him up, because they're, in my opinion, in my non-expert opinion, there's way too many other needs that they could allocate those resources to. So even though we don't have any more football games, a little bit of a down time, here's kind of what's coming up on the NFL schedule. All right, something maybe to look forward to. February 17th, starting February 17th, that's the window for teams to use franchise tags. February 23rd, that'll be the start of the combine. March 9th, 1 month from today. Okay, 1 month from today, free agency, quote, legal tampering window. All right. And then March 11th at 4 p.m., I think it's 3 p.m. our time, that's when free agency begins. So if you're wondering, when free agency and that, the legal tampering begins 1 month from today. Not that long. Not that long. So in terms of franchise tags, I don't think Green Bay would use one. The only player that I could see maybe getting a franchise tag, but I would be shocked, would be Quay Walker. And the reason why I say I would be shocked is because Green Bay declined the fifth-year option when it came to Quay Walker. And the reasoning that Goody said was, well, the fifth-year option is, it's a high price tag, and the thought was an extension would be cheaper, and that's the route they wanted to go. So if they were to place the franchise tag on him, that would even be more expensive. So that would surprise me. I don't. Rasheed Walker, no. Romeo Dobbs, franchise tag. Could they place a franchise tag on these players and trade them? 100%. They could place one on one of these guys if they feel confident, comfortable that they're going to be able to trade that player. And it's something they have done before. They did it before. Was it Corey Williams or Colin Cole? Who was that defensive lineman that they did it? I think it was 07 or 08. They shipped them off. They gave them was it the franchise? I'm just going off my head now. Transition or franchise tag, which was raised an eyebrow for a lot of people. And then they shipped him to a second round, or to Cleveland for a second round pick. I mean, it's a risk. There's no question. There's a risk with it. But I guess never say never, especially in a draft where Green Bay doesn't have a first round pick. Maybe they're going to look to a lot of different ways of acquiring more picks, not necessarily a first-round pick, but maybe they're going to look for other avenues to acquire some picks. So maybe. Can never say never. It's a risk. I'd be mildly surprised. But maybe don't completely take it off the table if Green Bay really wants to try to accumulate some more picks and really try to accumulate more depth on this team. We'll have plenty of time leading up to the draft and talking about the draft and such. But I'd be curious if that would be a pathway, or if that's a scenario that Goody and his front office team has been thinking about. Do you franchise tag one of these players and maybe try to ship them off for a pick or something? I don't know. But again, it's a risk. It is definitely a risk. So plenty more football talk coming up throughout the thanks, C-Bomb, for that text. I don't know if I could say that. Throughout the morning here. But continue to chime in if you'd like. We're going to talk some hoops coming up in the next hour. We got baseball talk as well. What do you think with pitchers and catchers reporting here in just a couple days for the Crew? What is the biggest storyline for the Brewers as players start to report, as workouts are coming up here fairly quick? Spring training games coming up here fairly quick. What is the number one storyline, in your opinion, for the Brewers as we get closer and closer? We are just days away from spring training. Send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Best ones I'll read on the air. The best and worst from the weekend. Our VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. You can send those on over too. We'll talk some hoops with the Bucks' new acquisition, new signing of Cam Thomas. Why I like it. I think it was a good move for the Bucks. Don't know how much it'll help this year, but I'm hoping that maybe they can figure out something for the long term here with Cam Thomas. So we'll touch on that and talk about the ugly weekend for Badger basketball too, and how hurtful that loss could be for them going forward. One in already on this Monday morning. We got 3 more to go though. All right. Hit me up with some comments on YouTube. What up? Good morning, Joe. Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. All that good stuff. We'll be back after these news updates. All right, here we go. Second hour already kicking off on this Monday morning. Appreciate you hanging out with us, making us part of your start if you're already up and at it. Don't forget to send me your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. All right, hit me up with a quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. 715-830-1912, or you can also hit us up on the YouTube video stream if you'd like. Your best and worst. You're also your, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Okay? Best ones I'll read up on the air. We'll get back to some more football talk and some Super Bowl talk and all that good stuff. But I want to switch gears here a little bit. And also, I want to talk some baseball coming up here in just a little bit, too. So before we get to hoops talk here, just again, send me your biggest storylines or what you think is the biggest storyline for the Brewers as we get set for spring training, as we get set for pitchers and catchers reporting here in just a couple days. Okay, so we'll get to that baseball talk coming up here in just a little bit. We do have local sports roundup with Justice Cleveland as well coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. But I want to kick off this hour. Talk a little bit of hoops because there was a move made over the weekend by the Milwaukee Bucks that, not much can we say about this season for the Bucks that is like that we'd give maybe a thumbs up on or positive moves and such. But I like this move that the Bucks did, signing Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas, released by the Brooklyn Nets, has signed with the Bucks. It's official now. He's only 24 years old. All right, so he's still young. He's averaging 15.6 points per game this year, but in the two previous seasons, he was averaging over 20 points per game. He dealt this at the beginning part of the season, missed a big chunk of the season due to a hamstring issue. But given his age and given the talent and or the what we have seen so far from Cam Thomas throughout his career, I'm really intrigued with this move. And I'm intrigued in a good way. Cam Thomas said he picked Milwaukee because they wanted me, and they told me they've been interested for years now, so it's good to have this opportunity come to fruition, and I'm just hoping to meet everybody, get to know everybody, and contribute as soon as possible. According to other rumors out there, the Bucks apparently tried to trade for Cam Thomas by the deadline. The release by Brooklyn was kind of surprising. I mean, I don't know the whole details and such, but maybe if you had a couple of interested parties to trade him and now you get nothing for him, there's a lot that goes into it. I understand that and such, but Milwaukee's bringing in a guard who's only 24 years old and over the last 3 years averaged 21 points per game. That's where I'm intrigued, and that's why I kind of like this move. Why not? Why not see what you got with him for the rest of this season, and then maybe it's something that you can bring him back and approach in the offseason and make it a priority. Why not? I mean, this is a guy that can kind of create on his own. And I know for a lot of people are like, well, don't they have Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. and A.J. Green? They got guards and such. Yeah, you're right. They got guards. And I don't know how the rotation is going to work out. But if Cam Thomas, let's say Cam Thomas is going to be in the starting lineup, okay, then you got either Rollins or Kevin Porter Jr. coming off the bench as a sixth man. A.J. Green coming off the bench. There's no issues with that. Sixth man is one of the most important positions in the entire association, in the entire NBA league. Okay? That, I feel like sometimes we put such a focus on, and mostly in basketball, into who the starting five is. They get the glory. They get to be, introduced in the starting lineups, and we do our all-time starting fives and such. But those bench guys, those six man, they're just as important. Just as important. And I don't know how it's going to all work out and such with the rotation, but you put Cam Thomas in at your two guard, and either Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. at your starting point. I'm intrigued with that backcourt. I'm intrigued to see what Cam Thomas can do once Giannis is back. See what you got with those guys. And if you got a little something there, hey now. I don't think it's going to do much for the Bucks this year, but bring him aboard. It's kind of maybe a tryout for the rest of the season, and maybe you can bring him back next year. If he likes his experience, he likes it in Milwaukee and that. All right. So I'm optimistic. I'm mildly optimistic about this. Maybe not more so for this year, but for the future. I hope this all works out. Bucks, though, they're back at it tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. Bucks are still 2.5 games out from that final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. So Bucks are riding a 3-game winning streak. Can they get it to 4? If you're looking at the upcoming schedule here for the Milwaukee Bucks, you got Orlando tonight. You got Orlando again on Wednesday and a back-to-back at Orlando. And then you got at Oklahoma City on Thursday, at New Orleans. Then you're at home. Well, after got the All-Star break in there. After your Oklahoma City game, then you've got the All-Star break. Okay, so you got 3 more games here until the All-Star break. And they're going up against 3 playoff teams. Oklahoma City may be the best team in the entire league. So we'll see how it all kind of plays out. Can they inch a little bit closer? Can they lower that gap from the top 10, that 10th seed in the Eastern Conference playoff chase? I don't know. But with All-Star stuff coming up, Bobby Portis is going to be in a 3-point competition. So you got a little Bucks representation there. Dame is actually going to be in it, even without playing for the Trailblazers at all this year. He is going to be in that 3-point competition. So obviously we know Giannis and his brothers with the celebrity game and such too. So, but after the All-Star game, I'm kind of wondering then, are we going to see Giannis return? I think that's going to be the benchmark. That first game after the All-Star break at New Orleans. Where are we at with a potential return of Giannis to the lineup? Because that is a stretch of games starting at New Orleans. That is a stretch of games that I believe, in my opinion, will determine whether whether the Bucks can sneak into the postseason, because they have a long stretch of games in Milwaukee after New Orleans. New Orleans is a winnable game, even though New Orleans gave them all that they could handle just last week. That should be a winnable game for the Bucks. Then you go home. Starting on February 22nd, you're at home all the way to March 10th with 1 road game in there, and it's to Chicago. That's it. Home against Toronto. Home against Miami. Home against Cleveland. Home against the Knicks. At Chicago. Home against Boston. Home against Atlanta. Home against Utah. Home against Orlando. Home against Phoenix. Yes, you've got the Knicks in there. Yes, you've got the Celtics in there. You got some tough teams in there. But that is a chance. At home, you need to come away with a winning record in no stretch of games. And to me, that's a portion of the schedule that will really, I think, determine whether the Bucks are going to make the postseason or not. Because after that, when they hit the road for their first road game, I'm counting Chicago as just a quick trip south, like a legit road trip here. March 12th, there's a month left in the regular season. And there is a very, very, very tough portion of their schedule coming up towards the end of March. And it's a lot of Western Conference teams. But, no, I like the Cam Thomas move. I like it. Why not? Try it out for the rest of the season. If you got something there, bring him back for next year. Pair him up with either Porter Jr. or Ryan Rollins to run your backcourt. Whoever's the odd man out, they come off the bench. Why not? You got another guy that can create, that can score. All right, let's take a quick break and let's talk some baseball. What are, in your opinion, the biggest storyline? What is the biggest storyline for the Brewers as we get set close, or I should say as we are getting closer and closer and closer to spring training and pitchers and catchers reporting in just a matter of days? What is the biggest storyline? Let me know your picks. Quick break, and we'll be right back after these few words. If you're thinking about getting some new floors, maybe because you got a nice tax return coming this year, maybe you're thinking like it's finally time to update the flooring in our home. Well, there's one name in the Chippewa Valley that you need to know. If you don't already know, everybody should already know. But if you don't know, it's Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. From soft, comfortable carpet to durable luxury vinyl planks and tile, Carpet City Flooring Center has flooring options designed for real homes and real life. Whether you're updating a single room, finishing a basement, maybe for that man cave of yours, or remodeling your entire home, their experienced team helps you find the right flooring to match your style, your needs, and your budget. You'll get knowledgeable guidance, quality products, and professional installation all in one place. Hey, no confusing choices, no high-pressure sales, just honest advice and flooring that you'll feel good about for years to come. Visit Carpet City Flooring Center today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. You can see the difference for yourself. We are inching closer and closer to baseball season. Football's done, but baseball's almost here. So while we're sad, maybe the football season is officially in the books, maybe not everybody, but some. Stay on the positive side of things and look that baseball is nearly here. Pitchers and catchers report formally Wednesday. First official workout is on Thursday. So Wednesday they report. First workout is Thursday. First full squad workout, the 17th. All right, so we are just days away from seeing Brewers players reporting to Arizona and such and getting sets for another season. And we're going to have time leading up to it for, predictions and expectations and such. But what do you think, in your opinion, is the biggest storyline for the Brewers as we head into this 2026 season? What do you think is when you look at this current squad, the biggest question or the biggest story, I think, is how I want to phrase it, the biggest story. Now, if we look at MLB.com's picks, it's probably no big surprise, but for the Brewers, they picked their pitching staff as they put on there, sorting through the deep but unproven pitching. Even after trading Freddie Peralta, Milwaukee officials believe that run prevention will remain a strength. It starts with a healthy Brandon Woodruff, the only pitcher on the roster with a season of 25-plus big league starts on his resume. After that, the Brewers have a long list of promising but unproven starters. Jacob Misiorowski, Quinn Priester, and other top prospects, including Robert Gasser, Logan Henderson, and newly acquired Brandon Sproat. Who cracks the opening rotation? Who winds up in the bullpen? Do they have enough to defend the NL Central crown? I really can't argue with that. I can't argue with that being the number one question mark because, the name that they don't mention there is obviously Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta is gone. He's traded, okay? Brandon Woodruff. I mean, this is like one of those, what do they call those diagrams? Was it like a web one where you put I'm just thinking about in school when we had to always do those. Like you put a topic, you draw a circle around it, and then you draw the lines off them, and there's another, graph feeding off that. To me, you've got pitching. Okay. Big. Yep. Right there. That's the main one. Coming off that, Brandon Woodruff. And then it's another one coming off that, health. I mean, there's so many questions surrounding this Brewers pitching staff that it's hard to argue that this isn't the biggest storyline heading into camp. It's because, let's start with Brandon Woodruff, okay? Guy's getting paid a ton of money this year. That's a thing. Okay, that is somewhat important in this thing. Dude's getting a little over $20 million this year. The Brewers have never done that for a pitcher. And this is a guy that he had a solid season last year. Still, last year was a big, big moment for him coming back from that very serious shoulder injury. But still had some hiccups along the way. The biggest question surrounding Brandon Woodruff, I don't think, is his talent. It's, can the guy stay healthy? That's the biggest thing. I don't think anybody really has questions about whether Brandon Woodruff is a good pitcher or not, or whether he still has his stuff. He showed a lot of that promise last year. It's just, can he stay healthy? Can he start over 20 games this year for the Brewers? He is the leader of this group. So can he be out there every 5 days? That's a huge one. Mizorowski's probably, would you say, second or third, depending on where you would put Quinn Priester. But in terms of potential, Mizorowski's ahead. I mean, in terms of potential, Mizorowski is number one of all these pitchers that we're going to talk about. I don't think that's a hot take. I don't think that's a bold statement. He is number one based off potential because of the stuff that he has, that we saw last year. But there's still questions surrounding him. What version of Mizorowski are we going to get for the most part of this year? Are we going to see the version that we saw at the beginning of the year and in the postseason, or are we going to get the version that was in between? Is he going to be able to kind of hone in on, he does get erratic at times. Can he hone that in? And granted, yeah, he had a little bit of an injury last year, but I think we're all just kind of like holding our breath saying, please don't throw your elbow out. Please don't throw your elbow out. Please don't throw your elbow out. It's a thing. You can't forecast it. You don't know when it's going to happen, but I think there's a lot of us right now just wondering not if, but when is it going to happen? I hate to say that, but it almost feels like if you're a pitcher in Major League Baseball right now, you're probably going to have some elbow injury, especially if you're throwing 100 miles per hour. Not every pitcher's like that. It feels like it's going to happen at some point. So, I mean, there's still questions, surrounding Mizorowski. And is he going to be able to answer some of those in just year two? Quinn Priester, the guy we had no idea who was about, and I would say kind of came on the Brewers by happy accident because the Brewers were forced to find pitchers at the beginning of the year because of injuries. So they had to go and get this guy that at that time, a lot of people thought Brewers gave up a lot for this Quinn Priester dude. And completely blew the door off of all those expectations. Completely blew the door off. Now it's like, okay, what else can he do? Can he take another step this year? Yeah, he struggled in that playoff game against the Cubbies at Wrigley Field. But can he take another step? Now, what about a whole offseason with this Brewers pitching lab, pitching staff? Because when he was acquired last year, what was kind of the talk coming out of the Brewers was, hey, we're going to work on some of these things, kind of, focus on what he does well, and they did a really good job. Now you get a whole offseason. You get a spring training with him. What else can Quinn Priester do? What can he take another step? Is there another step to take to elevate his game? What about Robert Gasser? Robert Gasser, before a couple of years ago, he was one of the exciting pitchers of the staff. Came back at the end of last year, up and down, right? Coming back from that Tommy John surgery. Are we going to get the Robert Gasser that we saw from a couple of years ago that got a lot of us as Brewers fans excited about the future with him? How much do we factor in what we saw from him this past year when he did get in? I mean, it wasn't the same. Let's be real. But, all right, now you kind of get a whole offseason, a regular offseason, and a regular spring training. Logan Henderson showed us a lot of good stuff last year. Probably needs to work on another pitch or two. But there's high expectations for him, too, because, again, you go to, I saw this on MLB.com. And they listed Logan Henderson as one of the guys as best projected rookies, tied for 7th across all of Major League Baseball, not just National League, Major League Baseball. Henderson would likely be ineligible for this list if not for some misfortune. He logged a 1.78 ERA across 25 1/3 innings and 5 starts last year, 4 in April and May and 1 in August, before right elbow inflammation effectively ended his season on August 8th. He should have been a part of Milwaukee's playoff run. Instead, he was left to rehab and retain his rookie eligibility. This year, Henderson is projected to toss 145 and 2/3 innings in 41 appearances, 23 starts, have a 4.17 ERA, and strike out 143 batters. I would say those are some high expectations for Logan Henderson this year. Again, he was a guy last year coming in early on. Probably Brewers didn't expect him to pitch early on in the season, but again, injuries had an effect on that. And for a lot of Brewers fans, they wanted to see more of Logan Henderson. Thought he should have stayed up with the ball club, right? So if he gets that opportunity this year, is he going to be one of those high projected rookies this year? How much is he going to be a part of the Major League Ball Club? You know, and the other name on here too, what about Chad Patrick? You know, one guy that wasn't even rode up in this thing, Chad Patrick. At the beginning of the year last year was probably their most consistent starting pitcher. Fell off a little bit, went back to the minors, came back, came out of the bullpen and in the playoffs, pitched some great moments too for the Brewers and some much needed innings. But where's Chad Patrick's role in this thing? Is he coming out of the bullpen? Is he going to be a starter? You throw in a Brandon Sproat. We don't really know what to expect from him this year. We don't know, again, is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be a bullpen guy? That's kind of the question there. Is he going to be like a Quinn Priester was last year? Is he going to be a guy that's going to take a couple of years? And what about an Aaron Ashby and a DL Hall? So there's no question in my mind that, in my opinion, the number one storyline for this Brewers team has got to be the pitching. We know like a couple roles already. We know Brandon Woodruff's going to be a starter. We know Jacob Mrozarowski is probably going to be a starter to open up the season. After that, it's probably Quinn Priester's probably going to be a starter. So after those guys, it's a little bit of an unknown after that. So I'm curious and kind of excited to see how this all plays out in spring training. And it's going to be interesting to kind of follow because, again, in spring training, what do a lot of pitchers do? They're working on stuff. They're working on maybe new pitches. They're working on this, that. So sometimes, not every game that they're in, might have to take it with a grain of salt a little bit. But where's that balance going to be, right? You might have your more established guys be working on different pitches, working on this stuff that they wouldn't do in the regular season. But what about those other guys that are maybe fighting for a spot in the rotation or a spot on this team? Maybe you're going out there and trying to do their best just to win a job. Where's that balance going to be? That's where, you know, the players and obviously Chris Hook and the pitching staff, they're going to work in connection and come up with a game plan. But that's easily something that I'm going to be following. Yeah, we could say offense. We can point to that. That's been a question for the last couple of years. Garrett Mitchell, I think, is going to be another one too. But number one for me is definitely the pitching staff. All right, let's take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Since we're talking a little baseball, don't forget, we do have a new episode of the All Aboard Eau Claire Express podcast up from last week. Check it out wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by Toyson Ford. Toyson Ford's proud to serve the drivers of the Chippewa Valley with some of the most popular vehicles around Wisconsin and the country. The moment you step into their showroom, you're more than just a customer. You're an honored guest. And their only aim is to serve your needs to the fullest. So you can check out their new or used inventory by checking out toysonford.net or stopping by at 1000 Chippewa Crossing Boulevard in Chippewa Falls. Just saw Marcelo Zunas going to the Pirates. So another bat coming to the Central. After Suarez goes to the Reds, where Suarez was potentially rumored to go to the Pirates and such. Now the Pirates are bringing in Marcelo Ozuna. So Pirates trying a little bit here, maybe spending a little cash this offseason for the Pirates. Maybe trying to take advantage of about time with Paul Skeens and such in their lineup. I'm sure there's probably a lot of Brewers fans looking at some of the moves that the Reds have made and even the Pirates have made and said, man, can't get one of those guys? Can't get one of those bats? What's going on here? What's going on? But again, reminder, just a couple days away for the Brewers and pitchers and catchers. First full squad workout is going to be next week. We've got our first spring training game coming up at final Saturday, the month of February. So a couple of you chiming in on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line with a couple texts saying the biggest storyline for the Brewers is definitely the pitching staff here and seeing how it works out. John chiming in saying if it's not the pitching, it is definitely the offense, but that is something that has been with this team for the last couple of years. If I had to narrow it down, it would be Garrett Mitchell. Yeah, I think Garrett Mitchell is just – is it safe to say Garrett Mitchell is maybe just more of a question mark than a storyline at this point? Just because I don't know what to expect from Garrett Mitchell. And a lot of it has just been because of health. And I hate to say that about the guy because, looking at his numbers here, he's going to be 27 entering this season. Last year, he played in only 25 games, was just hitting 206, no home runs. Season before that, 2024, where he played in 69 games, down the stretch especially, 255, 8 home runs. It was after that 2024 season where there was a lot of excitement and a lot of expectations surrounding him. I'll keep referencing this thing because I think it's important to reference, but even that shredder rankings from MLB, the top 10 center fielders entering last year, entering top 2025. Garrett Mitchell was listed as a top 10 center fielder. And it was like, whoa, all right. They're excited about him. They got high projections on him. And then he gets hurt. For what it's worth, Baseball Reference has his projections this year, 247, 8 home runs, 25 RBIs, 57 hits. They ain't projecting a lot for Garrett Mitchell this year. I hope it's way higher because we could do the math, okay? That's not a lot of games. 261 plate appearances. Let's just kind of divide that by 4. I mean, you're talking about somewhere in the 60s they're projecting for the amount of games for him. One guy I'm really going to be kind of watching and paying attention to and just really hoping for the best is Garrett Mitchell. I'd rather, and I love Blake Perkins. Blake Perkins is that nice warm blanket. He's got you covered. You just feel better when he's out there defensively. And, yeah, he's had some big hits during his tenure with the Brewers. But based off potential, Garrett Mitchell has bigger potential, untapped potential. I think we know the type of player Blake Perkins is, especially from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, for sure. Garrett Mitchell, it's still just an unknown. It's still a question. And I just hope we get a chance to see him stay healthy throughout this season so we know what we got with the guy. Because I'd rather see an everyday lineup where it's Jackson's in left, Garrett's in center, Frelick's in right. I want to see that outfield more times than not this year just to see what we have with them. So I'm hoping he can stay healthy, and I'm hoping he can provide that offense that was the expectation for last year. So I'd probably put Mitchell more into the biggest question category. Like, storyline definitely is the pitching and how it's all going to work out and who's going to be the rotation, who's going to be the starters, who's going to be coming out of the pen and that sort of thing. But I think that for me, the biggest question's probably like the biggest unknown is who is Garrett Mitchell? What do we have with Garrett Mitchell? Because it's still unknown at this point. And it's kind of the same conversation we had about Garrett Mitchell what we had about him last year. Because he was kind of the guy seen as, okay, he's going to fill in for Willie Adames, or that was the thought I think we all had that the Brewers thought about Garrett Mitchell. Okay, he's going to be the guy that they're counting on to fill that power role. And you look at 2024, I mean, he was getting ABs, getting at-bats in that number 3 spot, in that power spot within the lineup. And that was the talk, like, okay, they're putting their eggs in the Garrett Mitchell basket. And the injury derailed that, and we're kind of back at that same conversation. All right. We'll take another quick break here. I want to talk some hoops. I want to talk some college hoops. Not a great weekend for the Badger basketball team. And it's about to get a lot tougher. We'll hit that up. Plus, medal count. We'll get you an updated medal count in the Winter Olympics. How many of you have been watching the first few days of the Olympics? Your thoughts so far? All right, we'll hit that up too. So, quick break, and then we'll be right back as we head into overtime here, wrapping up the second hour after these quick words. When you need glass done right, trust the local experts at Post Glass and Mirror in Chippewa Falls. From residential and commercial glass to mirrors, windows, and custom solutions, they deliver quality craftsmanship and dependable service every single step of the way. Whether it's a repair, a replacement, or a custom project, Post Glass and Mirror has the experience that you can count on. Learn more or request service online by checking out postglassandmirror.com. All right, coming up just past the top of the hour, we'll do our VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. Continue to send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Best ones we'll read up on the air. We also have our local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center coming up in the 9 o'clock hour when JC Nisi, Justice Cleveland, sports director, WEAU 13 News, will be joining us. Quick updates on the medal count. With the Winter Olympics now fully underway. Total medals, looks like Italy's in the lead at 9. Gold-wise, Norway's got the most right now at 3. United States, they've got 2 total medals, 2 golds, it looks like right now. So that's kind of where things currently stand in the early stages of the Winter Olympic medal count. Obviously, one of the bigger stories from the USA standpoint is Lindsey Vonn, is trying to compete with that torn ACL and then a very, 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 very scary crash. Had to be airlifted. Latest, she had surgery for fractured leg, but you have to wonder if that's probably going to end her career at this point. But man, what a scary situation with Lindsey Vonn this past weekend too. So basketball, Badger basketball, not a great weekend for Badger basketball. I know there was a little bit of question about the late foul call and such, but Wisconsin falling in overtime to Indiana 78-77. Wisconsin had to make that come from behind second half after falling down early in the first half, but not enough. Nick Boyd doing his thing, 20 points. John Blackwell, 18. Nolan Winter led the way, 26, double-double for him. After that, though, after the big three, not a ton of production, production from Wisconsin. Wisconsin currently is 16-7. They're 7th in the Big Ten standings. And things are about to get a little bit more difficult for Wisconsin because tomorrow they're taking on 5th-ranked Illinois. Friday the 13th, taking on 10th-ranked Michigan State. It's tough, but it's an opportunity. And I hope that's kind of the way the Wisconsin's looking at this. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for them to add another signature win to their tournament resume. It's an opportunity for them to showcase that they are a good team, that they're a threat. But this is such a difficult team to gauge because I feel like I feel good about their big three of Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, and Nolan Winter. It's just they've got so much inconsistency after that. Is it going to be Rapp? Is it going to be Janicki? Is it going to be Carrington? Who's going to be the next guy? Who's going to help fill that next role? Because I think it's been fairly certain so far. There's been more examples than not so far this season that they need a little bit more than just outside their big three. They need a little bit more production from the other guys, from the other role players. They're definitely going to need it against Illinois. They're definitely going to need it against Michigan State. But this is a huge, huge couple games coming up here for Wisconsin. It makes it even more important. More important because of that loss to Indiana. If we're looking at some of the latest bracketology out there. So CBS Sports Still has Wisconsin. This was updated yesterday. Wisconsin is a 9 seed, taking on 8-seeded Auburn. Where's so Joe Lenardi's was 3 days ago, so it's not. Was that 3 days ago? Yeah. So I don't. This was before that game, so I don't really want to take a look at that one. So, what's on 3? Can I see on 3's projection? So yeah, they barely got Wisconsin in. They got Wisconsin in as one of the last 4 teams to get in. So, I mean, they're hovering that line, you guys. It is really, really close. That's why they can't. If they could get a win against one of these top teams, whether it's Illinois or Michigan State, that would help out a ton. If they drop both these games, then there's like no room for a lot of error. They're going to have to finish the regular season strong, and they're going to have to maybe make a nice little run into the Big Ten Conference tournament. But man, they're threading a very thin line right now for Wisconsin, and it's perfect timing for tomorrow when we catch up with RJ leading into this game against Illinois. And I mean, you look at it too, Illinois, they're coming off of a loss to Michigan State on Saturday. So they're going to be looking to rebound. They're not going to want to have to drop back-to-back games. It's going to be very, very, very tough test. So, all right. Tell you what. Coming up past the top of the hour, we'll do our VFW Post 305 best and worst of the weekend. We'll get back to some more football talk, kind of reset everything. So, Super Bowl's in the books. Seattle's the champs. From a Packers side of things, what you saw in that game, if we use Seattle as the gauge, as the example, what is Green Bay's main priority or their biggest priority in the offseason to try to take down Seattle? If we use Seattle as the gauge, like that's who we got to take down. What is the biggest thing that Green Bay has to do in the offseason to put themselves in a better position to take down the champs? What did you see from that game last night says, okay, Green Bay's got to do this if they want to beat Seattle and become the champs? Halftime's here. We'll be back after these quick words. All right, halftime is over with. Third hour officially kicks off right now. Hopefully you're all off. Hopefully you are all off. Spit it out, Dan, to a fantastic start on this Monday morning to begin a brand new work week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Coming up next hour, we'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. When Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire from WEAU 13 News, will be joining us. So we'll hit that up. We're going to get back to some more football talk coming up here in just a little bit, kind of reset the convo from the first hour back in the 6 a.m. hour. We've got C-Bomb saying, I'm not saying we are old. I'm just saying from today to Favre and White's Super Bowl is the same time frame as Favre and White's Super Bowl to Lombardi and Starr's last Super Bowl. I will believe you if that's true, and if that is true, holy cow. I suppose 96, right? 96, 97. Yeah, that would, yeah. Super Bowl 2, Super Bowl 31, Super Bowl 31, Super Bowl 60. Good Lord. Think about it. The Super Bowl is not even that old. I feel like it's been, I think a lot of people just assume it's been around for a long. Think about it. Super Bowl is just 60 years old. Just turned 60 last night. That's still young. Put it in kind of like that perspective. Man, it's still fairly young. Kind of nuts. Really. I think so, at least, but there you go. See, I don't know if you thought of that on your own or you read that somewhere, but let's do the VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. My worst, I'm going to go, we were just talking about Badger basketball. That was a bad loss to Indiana. You got to win that game. You got to win that game considering where you're at in terms of the in terms of where you're at and tournament-wise, conference standings, and knowing what's coming up on the schedule. You got to get wins like that. So that was probably the worst for me. I'm going to go two best. I really like the Cam Thomas signing by the Bucks. So I'm going to go with that. But also, I got to give a shout-out to our third-grade basketball team. Those guys, those little guys, the way they hustled and played their butts off in that game on Saturday. Oh, yeah, shout out to the Piranhas for third-grade basketball. That was a lot of fun. They're passing, finding the open guy, transition, hustling. It was, chef's kiss. So, super proud coach after that game on Saturday. All right. So, in the first hour, we talked a little bit about, the Super Bowl and put a little Packer spin on it. Looking at what Seattle did in that game defensively and such, and maybe even just looking back at it throughout the whole season. All right. What do you think is the biggest priority that Green Bay has to do this offseason to take down the Seattle Seahawks? If we use, I'm not going to get into a debate or an argument whether Seattle's going to be the best team next year or not, but we're using them as the example here because they are now the Super Bowl champs. Okay? So they are the champs. They're at the top. And I know they're going to be a little bit different next year. Every team's going to be a little bit different next year. But what we just saw last night, what is Green Bay's biggest priority that they have to accomplish or they have to try to accomplish to maybe take down the champs or be better than the champs? In case you're wondering about odds, because we got to have Super Bowl odds right away for Super Bowl 61. Seattle and the Rams are tied for the best odds at plus 950. Bills coming in at plus 1,100. Ravens plus 1,300. Eagles also at 1,300. Patriots at plus 1,300. Then it's Packers and Lions tied at plus 1,400. I got to go offensive line. Looking at what Seattle did from a defensive standpoint and just pinning their ears back and going after Drake May and just making kind of life miserable back there for him. And knowing what Green Bay's offensive line looked like this year, they got to figure that thing out, and they got to be better. They got to be better from within. The players that they have in a roster just got to be better, but they may have to look elsewhere and just bring in better talent. Zach Tom, I'm assuming he's going to come back healthy, fully ready to go. Knock on wood, that's all good. I'm hoping Jordan Morgan. Okay, he's a first-round pick, entering his third year. Probably going to be the starting left tackle. I'm hoping that he can man that thing down to where Jordan Love doesn't have to worry about that blind side. Doesn't have to be peeking over his shoulder. Doesn't have to be, because look at last night. Look at the left side of the offensive line from the Patriots. It's kind of a weak spot for them, and Seattle completely exposed it. So I hope Jordan Morgan is the guy that can lock that down. I'm hoping Aaron Banks, he played better down the stretch, but can he play good throughout the whole season? And then who's the center? Are you going to bring back Sean Ryan and put him at center? Is it going to be a brand new center? Are you going to give it to Jacob Monk, who's been your backup? What's the thought there? Because if it's a new one, it's going to be what? Jordan Love's fourth center? Because it was Myers. You began the season with Jenkins. You finished it with Sean Ryan. Is it going to be somebody through the draft? Is it going to be a free agent? Anthony Belton coming into year 2, probably going to be your starting right guard, I would imagine, right now at this point. And then obviously Zach Tom at tackle. But then depth. Got to get better at depth because odds are you're probably going to have some injuries on that offensive line. So I'm looking at that. If it's not offensive line, it's defensive line and corners. And honestly, we could sit here and probably make cases for both sides, and they'd both be solid cases on who should be ahead of the other ones. Because again, if we use Seattle as the example, I mean, that's secondary. Those corners, they're physical and they balled out. But their defensive line was also getting some push too. But I think you got to start with the offensive, because I don't think if we compare Green Bay and Seattle, and I know a lot of people this morning are saying, well, if Green Bay had Tucker Kraft and Micah Parsons, they're in that Super Bowl. I don't know. And a lot of that goes back to the offensive line still. Like, I don't know. I feel like they're comparable. If we just use Seattle as the example, I feel like they're comparable from an offensive standpoint, maybe even better in an offensive standpoint in terms of position players and skill players, but not offensive line. And just seeing how that Packers offensive line played throughout the season, ups and downs, maybe more downs than ups. I don't know if they're in a Super Bowl. Even with Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft, I mean, there's a lot of talent, and they might have been able to overcome some of that. But if they would have ran into Seattle in the postseason with that defensive front, I don't know. I don't think that's a for sure thing like a lot of people are saying so far this morning. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have some questions surrounding that. And I get it. Micah was a huge loss, and you could connect the dots when he went out and what happened. Tucker Kraft's huge loss. And they very well could have been in there, but boy, don't discredit how important an offensive line is to the overall success of your football team, whether it's pass protection and protecting your quarterback, opening up the running lanes for your running attack. Again, I think too many people, not everybody, but too many people take for granted what they have if they got a really good offensive line. And I honestly feel like Green Green Bay may be a little handcuffed in terms of their offensive line too, because I'm still skeptical on Aaron Banks. And there's a lot of money invested into Aaron Banks. And I don't know if we saw some good things from Jordan Morgan last year. We did. I just hope in year 3 it can go up another notch. And I think it would do him. And I know this goes against Goody, what he said in his presser last week. But I think it would do Jordan Morgan some benefits to really focus on practicing at left tackle, getting work in at left tackle in the offseason workouts, training camp, preseason. I know they train all their offensive linemen to play multiple positions, but I truly believe left tackle is so important. It is so important that if Morgan is going to be your left tackle this coming season, you've got to primarily focus on him practicing at that blind spot, at that left tackle spot. You just have to. You got to nail that thing down, because the last thing we want is that to be a turnoil over there, and Jordan Love is just getting, hammered on the blind side. And we got to know if Morgan is the starting left tackle. If not, then it's a huge need, an incredible need. But from skill position player-wise, you can make the case that maybe Green Bay's a little bit better. And I know Seattle had the Offensive Player of the Year in Jackson Smith-Njigba. Cooper Kupp was a solid veteran addition. Kenneth Walker, a great running back. I would argue maybe even underrated. But Green Bay's got a lot of that stuff and maybe even a little bit more depth in that. So they're not that far off. It's just offensive line was the biggest gap. Defensively, it's not even close. Not even close right now. So there's definitely some moves that Green Bay has to do in this offseason to, I would say, put them up in that class of Seattle right now and trying to get to a Super Bowl. Getting Micah Parsons back and Tucker Kraft back is going to be a big jump in itself. There's no arguing that. There's no denying that. But it's also fair to say they still need more production, better production in a lot of different areas on this team too. And you look at what John Schneider did this offseason for Seattle. Made some bold and aggressive moves. Trading your starting quarterback and bringing in Sam Darnold, who, he had a good year for Minnesota. But then there was question marks. Okay, is he a big-time quarterback when it comes to the postseason? Instead of staying with his starter that he has seen over the last few years, it's like, no, we got to make a change. And they did. And then he trades DK Metcalf. You trade your starting quarterback and your number 1 wide receiver. It's like, ooh, bold moves, John. What you're really are trying to maybe go into a full-on rebuild. And then, you sign Lawrence coming out of Dallas, and there was question marks whether he was going to be able to, with coming off that foot injury. It's like, oh, that's a bold one too, man. And then the Cooper Kupp one, that's a lot of money for Cooper Kupp, who maybe, past his peak and such. Tip of the cap to John Schneider. Made some bold moves. But you can't argue with it right now because it's his team that's standing on top with the Lombardi Trophy. You can't really nitpick a whole lot because if that's the team that's holding the trophy at the end, a lot of those moves must have worked, and they did. Now I'm kind of curious, and Goody made a bold one too, a big one in acquiring Micah Parsons. I don't want to sit here and say he didn't, and he made some bold decisions with Nate Hobbs and Aaron Banks. But that's where I'm going to be kind of curious in this upcoming offseason for Green Bay. How bold, how risky is Goody going to be this offseason, knowing that maybe the window's 3 years, and a couple of his signings didn't work last year? Does he become more risky? Does he become more bolder? Or Does he kind of like, okay, a little gun shy here? I think it's a big offseason for sure for Goody. I mean, we know some of the weaknesses. You darn well know they know it too. All right. Take a quick break. Back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. All right, we open up this portion with some breaking Brewers news, some rather big breaking Brewers news. We have a trade. Got to admit, I'm a little surprised. Jeff Passan from ESPN reporting that the Boston Red Sox are acquiring Caleb Durbin in a trade with the Brewers. Left-hander Kyle Harrison is headlining the three-player package headed back to Milwaukee. Infielder David Hamilton and left-hander Shane Duran are the other two players going to Milwaukee, along with Kyle Harrison. So this literally just popped up a few minutes ago. Jeff Passan reporting that Caleb Durbin is out, getting traded from the Brewers for another pitcher, Kyle Harrison. I'm gonna learn about this on the fly with you guys and gals here. So I'll tell you, one person who's gonna be pissed. My kid, he wanted a Caleb Durbin jersey for his birthday this year. That's probably not going to happen anymore. So Kyle Harrison last year with he spent time with the Giants and Boston. 4.04. He started 4.04 ERA, 11 games pitched, 6 of them he started. So you got that. Okay. Because I'll be honest, I don't know right now. I don't know a lot about these players in return here. So I'm learning on the fly a little bit. David Hamilton. Let's learn a little bit more about David Hamilton. He is a second base and shortstop with Boston. Last year, he hit 6 home runs, a 198 batting average, 8 home runs in 2024. That's when he had a WAR of 2.6 and a 248 batting average. And then the other player was Shane Duran. Okay. So Shane, another pitcher. Last year, kind of spent some time in single A and triple A. Mostly a minor league pitcher coming in here, so not a 8.53 ERA at A+. Okay, then triple A, he had a 2.27 ERA where he was 5-1. Okay, so what are your thoughts, everybody, on this big time Brewers trade to open up? This is, I kind of had a loss of words because I don't know how to. I'm trying to digest it on the fly right now. This is big. This is really big. Now it opens up question marks. Who's going to play third base for the Brewers? Does Joey Ortiz go back to third and Bryce Terang goes to second? Or Bryce Terang goes to short? And just kind of looking at, and this is like Caleb Durbin. Caleb Durbin, really? I mean, the guy that was traded. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. I gotta wonder now. Does this mean Jet Williams goes over to third? Or does Jet Williams play short? Joey Ortiz goes to third. Whew. All right. Well, I guess that's what we're going to find out in spring training and such here coming up. But, yeah, I am definitely surprised at this deal. Adam McCulvey says Kyle Harrison is a 24-year-old left-hander. He's made 37 starts and 5 relief appearances over the last 3 seasons. He went to Boston in the Devers trade last June. Okay. Still, man, that really came out of nowhere. Didn't it? I mean, that really came out of nowhere. I did not have the Brewers trading Caleb Durbin before the season started. All right. Tell you what. Going to take a little bit of a quick break here so I can try to find out more about this deal. But give me some instant reaction, Brewers fans. Your thoughts. Your thoughts on this big-time trade coming down. before the season starts. All right, hit me up, 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back with plenty more coming up. Breaking this trade down a little bit more after these quick words. If you're just joining us and you missed it, the Brewers this morning making a rather surprising trade on the heels of pitchers and catchers getting set to report. Jeff Passan, the first to throw it out there, I believe. But Brewers trading Caleb Durbin to the Boston Red Sox. So, first of all, we found out a little bit more. It's not just Caleb Durbin. It's Caleb Durbin. It's Andrew Monasterio and Anthony Siegler. So it's like all the guys that played third base for them last year. And a Comp B pick. So all that going to Boston in exchange for pitcher Kyle Harrison. And also coming back is infielder David Hamilton and left-handed pitcher Shane Duran. So Kyle Harrison is the big name in this, coming back from Boston. I want to just Boston, because he was kind of the big name that came over from the Giants in the Rafael Devers trade from last year. So I'm just kind of curious. Still learning a little bit more on the fly here, but yeah. So, who's your third baseman now? Who's your third baseman if you are the Milwaukee Brewers? Is it Jet? Is it Joey Ortiz goes back to third base? I don't have a good idea, guys. It's anybody's at this point in time. I'm trying to find out. Okay, they don't have it for top 30 rankings for Boston. I was just kind of curious if they had that on MLB.com, but all right. How about this? Does this have this? No, that's not on there either. Okay, I was just trying to find a little bit more information on the fly here, but boy, okay, we talked about top storylines in the 7 o'clock hour surrounding the Brewers. That is now maybe a little bit old, because I think you could throw in there who the heck is going to be the third baseman for the Brewers. Who is it going to be? I got to imagine. I don't think they're going to go back to Joey Ortiz at third. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're going to go back to him. Do they put Jet? Or maybe they put Joey Ortiz back there and then Jet Williams goes to short. If you look at the depth chart, and it's obviously not updated with the Brewers right now, but their third baseman was Caleb Durbin, obviously. Then it was Joey Ortiz. Then it was Andrew Monasterio, and then Anthony Siegler. 3 of those 4 are out. They're currently out. Gone. So, I mean, if we just use the depth chart that's available on Brewers.com, it's Joey Ortiz as your starting third baseman. And then your backup shortstop would be Bryce Terang. Jet Williams has to factor into this somewhere. It's just, is he better as a shortstop or a second baseman? But it sure seems like, I'm just trying to find, man, I did not expect Caleb Durbin to be traded at this point. Wow. All right. Trying to get a hold of our guy, Brandon. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can get, so Brandon says Brewers in on another third baseman to acquire elsewhere because right now they don't have one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to see if Brandon can call in here maybe in a little bit and kind of chat a little bit about this with us. So let's see if we can get him in here. I'm doing this on the fly here, so be patient with me, everybody. Get our Brewers expert, Mr. Brandon Berg, to call in and chat with us about this move that, man, yeah, they don't have really any more third basemen on their depth chart. No, You did not mishear, Steve. It's Durbin, Monasterio, and Siegler. You can look it up too. It's out there. So they have definitely cleared their third base depth outside of Joey Ortiz. That's currently on the depth chart for this Brewers roster. But does that mean Joey Ortiz is going to be moving back to third? I don't know. I don't think so. There's got to be another move, right? Maybe another move. Maybe they're finally going to get a power third base. I don't know. That might be wishful thinking at this point in time. Let me see if I can find some other guys available. Third baseman. Trade. Available. Because Suarez just signed. Okay, let's go to our phone lines here this morning. Usually we talk to him on Fridays, but Brandon, I did not expect to be talking to you on a Monday morning. I also did not expect the Brewers to unload practically every third baseman on their roster this morning. So, first of all, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. As of right now, I don't know who's starting with at third base for the Milwaukee Brewers, but it could be you.
It could be you too. Maybe we tag team this thing, man. I don't know. Maybe it's open tryouts.
You've seen me play infield and softball before. I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay, dude. How surprised? I mean, not only is it Caleb Durbin, but like you said, they pretty much cleared their whole third base depth chart outside of maybe Joey Ortiz at this point, dude. I mean, how surprised are you at this?
I'm pretty surprised. We've talked about this before. I think the thing to always we've learned about the Brewers is, usually they're due for a move or two you don't see coming. And yeah, this one would certainly be it. There was absolutely zero smoke to the fire of the idea of, this move. So, to me, it's a matter of, obviously this is a move, but it just feels like there's got to be something else coming down the line, be it a third baseman, or I guess, when you bring up Joey Ortiz, I guess maybe possibly a shortstop, but I would think maybe more so a third baseman in a separate move because, yeah, right now, literally the top three people that, probably played the most time at third base last year are now Boston Red Sox. So, it's an interesting way to start the week, considering obviously we're just coming up the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, well, hey, the spring training is going to get going underway pretty quick. Well, we kind of found a way to kind of get people kickstarted into talking baseball right now.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I mean, I saw Kurt Hogg just tweeted out there that there's a move coming. I don't know if he's like thinking there is, but he listed off like who is potential third base options currently on this Brewers team and kind of said there's maybe got to be a move coming at this point. Have we heard about any other potentials, or have you heard about any potential options out there on the trade market possibly?
I mean, someone that's been kind of talked about as far as being available at third baseman is Isak Pretes from the Astros, who he's bounced around a little bit. He played for the Rays. I think he spent a little time with the Cubs. Last year he was with the Astros, and I mean he was kind of the first one I thought of just because he's someone I know that had kind of been talked about out there. So maybe it's that. Otherwise, I mean, again, it's the Brewers. You never know. I mean, it might be a second baseman somewhere that they're gonna try at third. Who knows? But I mean, otherwise, I'm not really thinking about it too much outside kind of off the top of my head. So I guess it's going to be kind of one of those things that we're just going to have to keep an eye out and see.
Is this a move to open up a spot for Jet Williams to be on the opening day roster? I mean, is that part of the thinking here?
I don't think so, just because I mean, he's only played I think it was 30 games or something like that at AAA. So, I mean, that would be aggressive. I mean, I guess potentially, the move could be, if you played Williams at short and then move Ortiz to third, but I'm not sure that would be kind of, a way to go, especially kind of coming off last year where, Ortiz, we've had this conversation before when it comes to third base, but like, the offense is a little bit more important when you're playing third base versus shortstop. I mean, that would be a pretty big leap of faith to kind of take somebody that, struggled big time playing offensively at short. Obviously, we know he was a really strong defender there, but, and then kind of put maybe a little bit more pressure on the bat, which struggled last year. So it is interesting, I guess, if nothing else. But yeah, I mean, this was, something I don't think really was expected. And then you're kind of looking on the, kind of the Brewers and what they're getting back. I mean, you're going to have Kyle Harrison jump in. I'm sure it'd be kind of in that, starting position group or starting pitcher group potentially. And something we talked about, I think when I was in on Friday, was how that potential group of starters was pretty right-handed heavy. So as a lefty, and someone that's got some big league experience, he's certainly somebody that, maybe gives him a little bit of a leg up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was actually that was the next person I was going to ask you, because this seems like this is the big piece in return is Kyle Harrison, and he was with the Giants, a part of the Devers trade package, if memory serves me correct, right? Yes. And then David Hamilton, who was a Brewer before, so he was a Brewer when he was a prospect, and he was traded there. And then he's a kind of a lighter hitting infielder that steals a bunch of bases, which stop me if you've heard that one before. So, but yeah, to me, the biggest takeaway from this is the Brewers have a lot of infield prospects that are now going to probably be starting this year in the upper minors, but there are guys that maybe by the end of the year are in Milwaukee. It would take a pretty big leap of faith for a guy like a Brock Wilken or an Andrew Fisher to be with the team at the start of the year. So again, I just think that this kind of alludes to the fact that there has to be something else that's kind of on the horizon when it comes to making a move. Because again, and even for some people that may be kind of thinking about the whole route of, just the finances and, this is a move they made because they're cheap. It's like, but Caleb Durbin was still making the league minimum. So it's not like these people we're talking about that were traded were set to make big money. Like, to me, that I don't see that. I'm pretty sure, at the very least, Siegler and Durbin were still making the league minimum. And, if Monasterio it wasn't like he was making much anyway. And then, it's just, something else I would think would be coming. So if, let's say it is that the player that you mentioned earlier, I just blanked out his name, from Houston.
Isak Paredes.
Thank you. If it is him, let's just assume this. Is that an upgrade for the Brewers and from an offensive standpoint over Durbin?
I think so. He's a guy he's a patient hitter. If you look at his numbers throughout his career, his last 4 years, he's always been, he's been an above average hitter or more. There's some power there. Last year, he hit 254, but 20 home runs, 53 RBIs, takes a lot of walks. It plays a solid defense at third base. He's more of a pull hitter though. So, he hit 31 home runs a few years ago with Tampa Bay, almost drove in 100 runs. So, if that ends up being him, then he's a right-handed hitter. Then that's somebody that, you can, add to the heart of that lineup. That I do think that, for the really good things that Caleb Durbin brought to the team, he would be an upgrade, in my opinion.
It's just, I think what's surprising me the most, Brandon, with this thing is, well, one, we knew how much Pat Murphy loved Caleb Durbin, and then two, they just acquired him last year as part of the trade. He was the main one in return for Devin Williams. So just only 1 year of Caleb Durbin is probably what surprises me the most with this deal.
I would agree for the reasons you just said. Pretty early on in the year, the Brewers go to Fenway Park to play the Red Sox. So that's kind of an interesting, I'm sure that'll be an interesting storyline we're talking about with, certainly Caleb Durbin, but also, assuming some of those other guys maybe are on the team or whatever. And, if Kyle Hamilton, Kyle Harrison, sorry, I keep calling Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Harrison ends up starting for or pitching whenever for the Brewers.
Yeah. Well, hey, Brandon, we appreciate you hopping on here for a little bit because I was my wheels were spinning when that thing popped up. I'm like, holy crap. Who's this guy? Who's this? What's going on here? So appreciate you hopping on here for a little bit this morning, sir.
You bet. And if another trade drops within the half hour, just shoot me a text again.
Boom. You're done, sir. All right. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Yep. See you Friday. Bye.
You got it. There you go. Brandon Berg hopping off the phone and breaking it down for us for a little bit. But maybe there's another move. On the horizon here for the Brewers. Maybe. We'll see. All right, let's take a quick break. Plenty more to come to, or plenty more to get to coming up after these quick words. If your vehicle got into a little bit of a fender bender, maybe you hit a deer, whatever the case may be. If your vehicle needs some auto body work done and done right, make your appointment today with our good friends at Superior Auto Body. All right, give them a call at 715-834-7707. Superior Auto Body, located at 301 North Farwell Street in Eau Claire. Superior Auto Body, presenting sponsors, presenting partners of Backyard Dreams. So, again, if you are in need of some auto body work done for your vehicle, you want to make it look like new again, go visit our friends at Superior Auto Body. So, yeah. The Brewers news, if you're just joining in and you're like, I haven't been online at all today, what's going on here? Caleb Durbin, gone. Brewers essentially trading every single one of their third basemen on their roster. Monasterio, Anthony Siegler, and a Comp B pick getting traded to the Red Sox for lefty Kyle Harrison, infielder David Hamilton, and Shane Duran. Another pitcher too. So I don't, man, this is, I'm still kind of speechless at this point, I guess, to see how this is all going to play out. Could we see another move potentially out here? Does this move for I don't know. I guess we'll see how it plays out here. Dominic Cotorino from the Brewers Radio Network, who we've had on the program many times, says, one-line scouting reports Harrison, former top prospect in the Giants organization, key piece of the Devers trade, 3-pitch mix that has yet to find his ceiling. Previously a White Sox round 5 pick in 2024, but lost a year to command and elbow inflammation. Hamilton, former Brewers draft pick from 2019 as a speedster, has experience up the middle, mostly second base, 22 stolen bases last year, despite a .257 on-base percentage in 2025. So, all right. We'll definitely talk more about this coming up in the final hour, but if you'd like to share your thoughts, you can let us know. Hit us up with a quick message on that YouTube video stream or such. Are you waiting to see maybe there's another? Are you going to take the approach that maybe there's another move to be had? Brewers got plenty of pitching options right now, it feels like. So maybe they can package some of those guys and bring in a third baseman. Maybe, but I'll be honest. Kind of what I'm hoping for right now, if I'm being honest. I'm hoping that maybe there's another trade coming down the wire. That maybe it'll involve some of that plethora of pitching, and they can bring in a little bit more power. Because on the surface, let's be real here too. One of the things that we have clamored for the last couple of years is we've wanted a power hitting corner infielder. Is that potentially in the works here for the Brewers? Maybe, but we'll see. So, all right, I only got about less than a minute left to the top of the hour here, so we'll continue to get your reaction from this. You can let us know, 715-830-1912, or again, you can hit us up on the YouTube video stream as well. We'll do some local sports roundup. Brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center, Justice Cleveland from WEAU 13 News. He will also be joining us to break all of that down. But we're kind of doing a little bit of an audible here with a lot of the stuff with this Brewers trade. So 3 in, 1 more to go. News updates, and we'll be back after these quick words. Well, it has been weird so far this morning. Hopefully you'll join us here to stay with us for this final hour, as we kind of called an audible last hour. Did not have the Brewers training Caleb Durbin on our bingo card the Monday after the Super Bowl, but here we are with just a couple days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. Just about a week until full squad workouts. Next week, full squad workouts. And, we were actually in a 7 o'clock hour talking about the biggest storyline for the Brewers as we headed into spring training. It was we were talking about the pitching staff, the rotation. Maybe that's changed now, because maybe the storyline is who the heck is going to be playing third base for the Brewers. Justice Cleveland is joining us for the
Justice
final.
Cleveland will be?
Yeah, Justice. Yeah.
That's going to be a big I am not above replacement.
Hey, maybe between you, Brandon, and myself, it'd take all three of us at one time.
Yeah, I don't know. All our powers combined, we could hit a robust 115.
Mighty Morphin Power Ranger into a third baseman. That still isn't enough at this point. So
I don't bring a lot to the table.
Man. So I know a lot of people are kind of thinking, does that mean Joey Ortiz moves back to third? Then who plays shorts? Brandon we had on a little bit earlier. Remember, Jet Williams hasn't played a ton at the major league, so that would be a big ask right away.
Right.
To go up there. Does Terang go to shorts? Somebody else play second? I don't think Brock Wilken is ready to go up to major league level. I know they like him a lot as a power third baseman and such, but does Tyler Black go back to I don't know, man. I'm still kind of all fuzzy with everything going on here.
I think if you look at the one thing the Brewers have is the versatility of a lot of those guys, and that's kind of been what's been able to save them these last couple of years. I mean, think about it. At this point last year, did we know anything about Caleb Durbin?
No.
And he got called up, and you're like, okay, this guy's up. I know he was kind of touted from the trade and all that, but you didn't know.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he came in and was a steady hand at third. I just, I think maybe, again, this all goes to scouting, and it's like, how have they seen this? Like, okay, kind of know what the ceiling is for Durbin.
Mm-hmm.
We could probably find another person to do that. I loved Durbin's grit, and you could hear Pat Murphy talking about him a couple of weeks ago, how much he really enjoyed him.
Even when they acquired him, he was like loving him right away and such. So
But the thing about Murphy is he's great at just building those relationships with anybody, and really does a good job with those young guys. But you hate to see him go. They got kind of a haul for a guy who's got one season in the major leagues, hit 256 and 11 home runs. Nothing that you're looking at. If you're just looking at plain stats, you're like, okay, this isn't a lot.
Right.
So you got some, and Andrew Monasario he's a bench guy. He's been a good guy off the bench to have, because he's been pretty consistent coming off the bench, but
everybody seems to love him personality-wise too. So, and then Siegler, we barely kind of saw. I mean, we were questioning why was Siegler still on the active roster.
Exactly.
At the back end,
So I think that's again I'm now 2 years removed from spring training, but just remember being there and just the type of guy they sign and are looking for are in that Caleb Durbin build, in that mold of these 5'8", 5'10" guys that are just going to play like nails and go out there and just give it all. And I think they have a plan. They're not moving on without having a plan, and I think they do. And again, there might be other moves that are made here, and that's another thing I talked with Pat Murphy about is just that's the nature of this team and the nature of being in a small market is that you're not making these moves early in the offseason. A lot of these moves are coming, as you said, a couple weeks here before we get to spring training games. I think 21st is the first spring training game. So we're just a little over 2 weeks away from guys hitting the field and actually playing in spring training games. So it's just kind of the nature of being a small market team. And with the economics of Major League Baseball, this is how the Brewers have to work, and we're seeing it right now.
The one name that I haven't seen anybody throw out there, and I don't think this would happen, but maybe just throw it out there because they did try him there just a couple years ago, is Salvatore Frelick.
Right.
When they were trying him at third base. And I think, from what I remember, he was okay. He was decent and such, but I mean, you're taking away then a Gold Glove outfielder for that. And I wouldn't be on board with that.
No, I feel like that would be just you would deplete. And I mean, again, they've had pretty good runs of, depth in the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like you want to get rid of him there because I think he's just the plays we've seen him make.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much to take him out of that unless you think he's going to be the next Brooks Robinson. You're going to move him over there. But
right, nice name pull, by the way.
Thank you. I just think of third base, and that's
Yep.
I think that's the name that comes to mind. I think you can go Chipper Jones or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I think Brooks Robinson always comes to my head when I think of great third baseman, fielding wise for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you do that. Is there still time to sign a veteran? There is. I mean, we've seen them bring in guys late.
And they got a plethora of young pitchers now, man. I mean, do they maybe use some of that to acquire somebody? Because I know the talk was, well, they had a lot of right-handed pitching options. Would they need another lefty? Well, this Harrison cat's coming in as a lefty. So now you got maybe a righty or two that you could package for somebody out there. I don't know, but that to me now we were questioning how the rotation was going to work because you had a lot of options. Now you got more options.
Right.
So it's like maybe there's a possibility they package a couple of those guys to bring it. I don't know, but
that's always. I mean, I think that's key. Is you're building up and a lot of it's prospect depth, but it's still depth, and that's when other teams are looking for something, pitching and arm is usually what is the biggest asset they want. So. I think for the Brewers, they're in a pretty good position right now to maybe make another deal and bring in another bat.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, I trust them with finding pitchers. They have done such a remarkable job of keeping that pitching staff loaded here for the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can go a little longer than that, but yeah, I think the last decade, you look at all the moves that they've made, have pretty much worked with pitching. And if they see something, they bring in a veteran and they don't like it, and he wants to go to wants to go somewhere else and get traded to the White Sox, they trade him to the White Sox. So, and then get a great asset in Vaughn. So, I mean, it to me, I trust what this front office is doing, and I can see that there's some plan for movement right here. So.
Right. So if it is Page's, the third baseman from the Astros, because that's getting more talked about, and if that name sounds familiar, he did spend a hot minute with the Cubs back in 2024. He did hit, like Brandon said, over 30 home runs a couple of years ago. I think he had 20 home runs last year. So, I mean, if that is an option, I mean, what's one thing that Brewers fans have been saying for the last couple of years? We want more power at the corner infield. So you'd be going from Caleb Durbin to a guy that can get you 20 to 30 home runs. Is that offensively an upgrade then on the surface?
I think so. I think if you're – again, Durbin was a grit player, and I think a guy who would run through a brick wall. So you want that. And if you can get something like that in that end, you can add a little more pop.
Mm-hmm. And he was an all-star last year too. So,
yeah.
I mean, I would think – Brewers fans would be happy because it solved the question for them. So maybe
But it still has to happen. That's
the thing. Like if it doesn't, then it's like, what are we doing?
Right. Exactly.
But if it does, okay, then what? How do you feel about it? I don't know. But his name was getting popped up because it was just yesterday that the Red Sox were interested in him. Probably not anymore because they got Caleb Durbin.
Yeah.
Other names are being kind of thrown out there as interested, but one would have to imagine that okay, maybe the Brewers are throwing their hats in, and that's why they're loading up on pitching, possibly to throw to the Astros. I don't know.
I think those seem like good possibilities right there. I think the Brewers, good luck when they've traded with the Red Sox. Excuse me. I think of the Travis Shaw trade, Tyler Thornberg, who's now back on the minor league staff.
Yep.
So I don't know. That was a good one for the Brewers. Shaw giving them 230 home run seasons. So if you get another 30 home run guy to come in because of that trade, I think it's great. But yeah, I think Durbin will be a favorite over there.
Yeah,
because he was it the Yankees? Probably he's part of the Williams trade, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, he's a guy who's used to kind of being on the East Coast, or at least being associated with an East Coast franchise. So yeah, again, you hate to see him go, but it might be just one of those where you need to upgrade a little bit on offense, and that would be. Because you don't know what you're going to get with Yelich, I think, at this point.
Yep. We don't know about Garrett Mitchell.
We don't know about Garrett Mitchell if he, is just one of those snake-bitten guys that's just never going to be able to get over the injury hump there. You got Contreras still.
Yeah.
And that is a bat that's probably your most consistent bat, obviously. And, Churrio's potential 40 home run guy if he can ever if he stays healthy, and he's still so young.
Right.
Like, he's just going to keep learning, and if he keeps that the way his learning curve is gone, he's going to hit some. So adding a corner infielder with a bat like that, and Joey Ortiz still has the potential. Bryce Terang could, we've seen Terang go on some just
every year he's gotten better offensively. So
there's potential for this offense. It's just I think as the size of market that they're in, potential is a lot of what you push your chips on, and you hope it all works out.
Right. Yeah. Man, we'll keep you posted in the next, final hour here if anything does happen to pop up more trade-wise or anything like that. But because even, depth-wise, too, you kind of look at it. Do they need a couple third base? Is Joey Ortiz the primary backup third baseman? You just kind of wonder how that's, because, they traded 3 third basemen. And and even the guy coming back, David Hamilton, not a ton of experience at third either. So it's not like they're getting an experience.
No, like you said, it smells of them trying to do something else. I think you get into February here, and a lot of those GMs and personnel guys are down now in either Florida or Arizona, and the conversations are starting. Probably just sitting over dinner, having a couple drinks, and then this stuff kind of weaves its way through here at this time of year. So I think that's kind of probably what's going on now.
I'm just looking at some of the potential free agents. There's not really, Kiki Hernandez.
Right. It's the guys it's the normal, hey, this guy's had a good season.
Yep.
Are you ready to, give him that 1-year deal? And if not, you cut bait at the trade deadline. The Twins, I think, have been really, the Brewers have done it a few times, but the Twins, you usually get 1 or 2 guys they bring in.
If they wanted to kick the tires again on Luis Urias, he's still available.
Goodness.
So that would just be like
Back to the Future there.
Right? And
man.
essentially it's kind of almost the same player. Smaller guy.
I wouldn't be opposed to them bringing in a veteran guy.
Right.
Just to have that steady backup if you need to. So I wouldn't be surprised that, because they're really, veteran-wise, other than Christian Yelich and Contreras, the guys they already have, they haven't brought in anybody that I can think of.
Position player-wise, no, not really.
And usually you see them bring in 1 or 2 guys around spring training. So I would not be surprised if we see somebody come in the next couple of weeks here as a veteran.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though. We'll be right back after these few words. Let's do a quick update on the medal counts going on in the Winter Olympics. This is a little bit different from just a couple hours ago because now Norway and Switzerland are tied for the most gold at 3 apiece, but Italy is still in the lead with 9 overall medals as the Winter Olympics in full swing right now. I just saw somebody tweet an image of Mike Tirico hopping out, like his flight path because he called the Super Bowl. Now he's had to hop on a plane at 1:30 in the morning to get to Milan.
Yeah, I used to say, like, that's not only he's on the complete other side of the United States.
Yeah.
Then having to go to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yeah, because I think I saw an image too. Like he actually did a spot on the field last night for the Olympics too. So it's that man. Yeah. All across.
I'll go to Milan.
Right?
I mean, they hit me up tonight, and they're like, hey, we need you. I'm like, hey, I don't have a passport, so you guys got to swing some things that way.
Right.
If I do have a real ID, will that work?
But you could check out the Olympics on WEAU 13 News, too.
Yes, indeed. So. And, Ben Loomis will be jumping on Wednesday.
Okay.
So early. I think it's 3 a.m. for the jumps and then 9 a.m. or 6 a.m., one of the two for the race.
Okay. And
that's the normal hill, I believe, is first, and then the large hill is on the 16th. So,
okay.
3-time Olympian, actually sporting my hat that his family gave me for.
Nice.
This was probably back in 2018 when he made his first team. So, it's always exciting when you have an Olympian from your area. And Ben, again, I've been watching him since he was 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now 27, and saying it's probably his final Olympic Games. He's got such a huge contingent of fans on this side that'll be cheering for him, and he's done better at each Olympic game. So we'll see what he can do this year.
Yeah.
But what a career, and congrats to him.
Well said. Yeah. Well, speaking of which, just kind of quick local sports to kind of see where everything's at. Want to start on the college side of things. Blue Gold basketball dropping this weekend against your alma mater, Stevens Point too. So. And we're getting close to wrapping up the regular season, aren't we?
Yeah, there's I think we got 4 games left at this point, and it's do or die time for both of these teams. That loss for the women's team puts them. They're not behind the 8 ball completely. There's still season left, but you got to start. And the stretch both these teams have coming up here is not easy.
Yeah,
it's never easy again. I mean, we've looked at this conference the whole year. It's never easy. But, yeah, it's a difficult road for both of them. But they're both up to it. They're both teams that can beat anybody in this conference. And we've seen them play to that standard of where they can.
Yep.
It's just a matter of stringing some of those together here and getting momentum. Anything can happen if you can make the conference tournament.
Right.
Any one of those teams could go in there and find a way. And both those blue-gold teams are capable of winning that conference tournament. Tough thing is just how tough this conference is. You got to get in there first. So they're both hanging right there of battling to get that final 6 spot.
And you look at the WIAC standings and the basketball side of things. So Stevens Point's in first place at 7-3.
Right.
La Crosse, Oshkosh, Whitewater, Platteville, all next at 6-4.
And La Crosse started 1-4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they were looking, they lost to the Blue Golds.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my goodness, this team was top 10 ranked team.
Yep.
And now look what they've done. They've turned it around, and the Blue Golds could do that. I could see them going on the same kind of run. The problem is you're just running out of time here as we get closer and closer to the end of the season.
And they've got Oshkosh coming up on Wednesday, Whitewater, Platteville, and La Crosse.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's a gauntlet that's going to be tough for both sides to do, but they have the talent to do it.
Yep.
They really do, and I'm not betting against them. I still think they both have a chance to make that tournament, and then, again, once you're in the tournament, all bets are off. They have a chance. So.
Yeah. And then on the hockey side, we did get to see the Blue Golds and River Falls men's team, I know, picked up a win, and kind of a high-scoring one between River Falls and the Blue Gold women's side, 5-3. River Falls getting the victory.
I know the
revenge from earlier on. So
Blue Golds, I think, were out to a 3-0 lead in that one, and then River Falls just turned it on with 5 straight. So I think for the women's team, you've played them tough. You won the first game. You had a chance to win the second game. So you don't want to lose. You don't want to give up 5 straight goals to lose, but you were there in position to take them for a second game. So I think that gives them a lot of confidence, despite the loss going in as we get closer to the postseason.
Yeah, because there's only 3 more games left for them.
Yeah.
And that final one is another matchup against River Falls.
Right. And then more than likely, if everything goes well, there's another matchup in the conference tournament as well.
Yep, exactly. So high school-wise, we're getting closer and closer to some postseason stuff.
We are.
Right?
We got wrestling for the girls. That'll be this weekend. Man, oh, man. In basketball, we're not too far away. Hockey, we
got some brackets out.
Brackets are out for hockey. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Every one of these weekends now, you're going to get another bracket for another sport. So we are really getting close. It's midway. We're almost midway through February. So playoffs next week will start. Man, for hockey, I believe is next, like the 17th.
17th, yeah.
So we're a week away from boys hockey starting, and
that bracket, Hudson is the 1 seed. North is an 8 taking on Tomahawk. Eau Claire Memorial is a 5 seed taking on Rapids, which that's so interesting because I know every year is different. But Tomahawk, I remember when I was growing up, they were a really good hockey team. The Lumberjack. Rapids has been to state before too in their history.
Tomahawk was at state last year.
That's right, yeah.
But they got bumped up from D2, so and that's Ram as well. Got bumped up to D1, so that's a tough road to hoe when you're that. You're smaller, these smaller teams, and you get bumped up to D1, and that you look at that whole sectional there. Yeah,
and then on the bottom you got Altoona taking on Chippewa Falls.
Yeah,
and
that's a matchup I don't know if I can recall seeing in a decade. Like it's been a long time since Ram and Chippewa Falls have met up in hockey, so. We got that, and that's the sectional. I believe we get Spash as the 2.
Spash is a 3 seed.
It's a 3, and Wausau West the 2.
Yep.
I mean, for those 3 teams that are 3 top teams in the state, only one of them will make it to state. That's crazy to me, and that just you'll very much test your mettle to get down to Madison, Middleton. Excuse me, for the state tournament.
New Richmond is the 10 seed, so they'll be taking on DC Everest. That winner will take Wausau West. Altoona, Chippewa Falls winner takes on Stevens Point.
And New Richmond's another team that got bumped up, and that's a team that's been to state. So there's teams that have had success and know how to win. It's just going to take a lot, battling these these D2 teams that getting moved up to D1. It's going to be tough.
Speaking of Division II, just some teams in our immediate area. You had Spooner Shell Lake as an 8 seed. They're going to be taking on number 1 Amory. Rice Lake's a 5 seed.
Rice Lake again is one of those teams. They've really, they've struggled this year, but they're playing that Big River schedule night in and night out. You go to D2. Well, we've seen Rice Lake make these runs, so I would not count them out.
And then Barron Co-op's going to be taking on Hayward in a 6-3 matchup too. So
it's about wide open in that D2 sectional as we've seen. Really, it is. I mean, you don't have the New Richmonds, the Tomahawks, and a lot of these teams that were there, the Alaska Ram. So you look at it there, it's like, okay, there's potential for a team that you really haven't seen in a while make a run there.
Yeah. So, we're at that point where brackets and all that fun stuff.
The bracketology. Philip loves to just, like, as soon as a bracket comes out, he prints them off. And comes out and starts staring at them. So it's really fun this time of year when you kind of start prognosticating on what you think is going to end up happening.
Yeah. As you mentioned, too, we're getting closer to hoops and such, too. So
last week I got a chance to see Regis and McDonald battle at McDonald, and just the atmosphere of that game with the girls basketball. Oof. Tell you what, that was fun.
Yeah,
and there's some good matchups this week as well. So it's going to be, we're getting close. Those conference titles. I know Rice Lake and in the girls' side, Rice Lake and Memorial will meet. Ellie Shepley's been got the Miss Basketball. Gotta get my thoughts here. But yeah, you have Shepley getting the chance for Miss Basketball, and then. But yeah, with Rice Lake battling Memorial at the end of the week, but they also battle Hudson tomorrow. Okay. Hudson is tied with Memorial for second in the BRC. So, yeah, you got some good matchups going on.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I thought there was one more thing I was going to. I was just kind of a general thing. Speaking of basketball, too, I feel like there's probably too many to name. There's been a lot of 1,000-point scorers.
Oh my god! It's like every night we're getting somebody doing it.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see. You wish you were there for all of them, but
I think Altoona boys had a couple this year.
Yes.
El Camon girls, I think, just had one. So
it was Addie Sheppy, by the way. Ellie's her sister.
Oh,
heading at Valpo right now.
but yeah, I mean, there seems more. I don't know if it's more, but just I see it popping up on social media almost every other day. Somebody's eclipsed 1,000 career points.
Yeah,
so
you had Becker and Gustafson from Altoona do it.
Yep.
Hager, the girls basketball player for Cadott, did it this past week as well. So yeah, it's really cool, and just to have these moments, and it was signing days last week as well. It's just really awesome when these athletes have these moments that everybody kind of comes around them and surrounds them and gives them their support.
Yeah, no doubt. So, all right. So I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break, and we'll have more. We'll talk some more football to wrap up the Super Bowl and such. Nothing yet. And if anybody's waiting for the next Brewers move to happen, nothing so far that I've seen out there. So, but if anything does happen in the next 30 minutes, we'll let you know. Quick break. We'll be right back after these few words. So quick football, one thing that I think has kind of gotten buried under a lot of stuff, but you being kind of from how about North Dakota State joining the Mountain West?
That's a big step.
That is, right? I mean, know that's a good program over there, but still, it's a big step.
Yeah, to see them go full-time D1, like I know there's all the, not FCS anymore. That'll be big. I think I kind of wonder what the next step for a lot of those teams that they play around. Like UND, what does UND do? Do they stay? Do they try to find a conference? But, yeah, I mean, that program has been so good for so long.
Yep.
Why not give it a try?
Yeah.
And see if you can, find a way to compete. And I think they have, with them and just UND, those are the two, like, you have a whole state.
Yeah.
It's like Nebraska. Like, everybody is supporting Nebraska football in Nebraska. With North Dakota, you've got two teams there. And if there's only D1 full-time now, D1 team, that should make a big difference. So I think it's a good move, and one that you can kind of see just by all the success they've had.
And I mean, I know historically they've really done a good job of recruiting in this area too. So that would be attractive. Maybe, and the offensive coordinator, Dan Larson,
right? Exactly.
Eau Claire connection too. So
and some good players, really. Christian Watson.
Yep.
You have a guy like that come out of there.
Carson Wentz was there.
Yep.
So
Hunter Lipke from for the
Spencer.
Cowboys.
Yep. From Spencer. So
yeah,
a lot of special kickers. I think too, special teams too. So.
Back Peterson back in the day, kicking for him from Regis. So yeah, Jackson Brown.
Yeah,
was played for them for 4 years. So yeah, I mean they've done a really good job, and I feel bad if we're missing anybody who went over there from our area, but they have really, and we'll see them continue. I think that team's just they're gonna find success there in the Mountain West.
No, I totally agree. So it was something I think kind of went under the radar, just with a lot of stuff going on with Super Bowl and obviously with us with Brewers and
Olympics,
and such.
throw that in there.
Yeah, but something that was kind of thought about for a little bit, for I think a few years, or speculated.
Yeah,
probably. So
I mean, you look at how much they the Fargo Dome and those crowds they get for those games. I mean, I think they're going to have no problem. And it'd be great to see them just kind of make a run. Who knows? I mean, it might take a couple years just to kind of catch up.
Right.
But I think they're in a good position.
Yep. Yeah. So that's going to be fun to watch and kind of follow along. Kind of maybe a little similar to like St. Thomas.
That's what I was kind of thinking of, making that jump from D3 to D1. So, yeah.
Yep. This one's a little bit closer in terms of, not maybe as drastic as a D3 to a D1, but still, it's especially with just football alone, it's a big jump.
Yeah.
So.
Now, that's the other thing is like all those other sports too. Bell Kongshog's going to play golf.
Yeah.
At NDSU. So I don't know when this exactly takes effect, but at some point.
Maybe, because I know right now they're saying it's just for football.
Is it just for, okay.
Yeah, but maybe, eventually.
Yeah, everything else starts making
that
move.
way.
Yeah.
So I want to talk really quick, just Badgers, because Badger hoops, we got a huge week. Illinois tomorrow.
Yeah.
Michigan State on Friday.
That's a short turnaround for both those games.
Yeah, and coming off of a bad loss against Indiana here, and this is a Badger team that's kind of on the bubble right now if you look at all the bracketology stuff.
Which is crazy because I think they're a tournament team. Yeah. I think from all I've seen, I know that the problem is they don't have those.
They have one big win.
Yeah, which normally they have a couple, stockpiled in early in the season. That I look at that team. I think they're a tournament team. I mean,
I do too.
They can compete with anybody. I think. Yeah, you kind of just made the mistakes that you do at an end of a game. Kind of like, the Minnesota game, you got one that you probably didn't deserve. This one is one you probably didn't want to lose, but you did. So, yeah, you got to at least take one of these next two games here this week.
Yep. Kind
of keep things going. They've been playing really good basketball up until – and even that game, it's funny because you look at it now, and this is a Badger team. They score, 78 points or 77 points, and that's – usually would be a win.
Right?
Now
exactly.
It's we're used to this Badger team scoring close to 90 points. It's a completely different, Badger teams than we're used to. But I think they got plenty of talent there. And they've had lulls, but this season they've really bounced back pretty well after loss. So I think they could do it again.
Yeah. So it's definitely big. And you got Illinois coming off of a loss against Michigan State too. So that's really going to make things more difficult. But I just feel like Blackwell, Boyd, Nolan Winter, you've got your big three, maybe the most consistent, but it's just after that, it's who's next, and it's so inconsistent on who's going to be the next person or next couple guys to step up.
The bench, you'll get a big game here or there, but sometimes it just goes silent. And again, as a jump shooting team, most teams are jump shooting. I mean, I used to throw that term around now, but I feel like give me teams that aren't. Like, teams aren't playing guys just traditional post anymore. So
right.
Most guys are quick transition offense, and the Badgers are no different. And when you go cold, we can have what happens like it did against Indiana.
Right. Yep. Nope. I agree. So, Bucks, Cam Thomas just kind of going through a bunch of stuff. I like that sign.
I do too.
I think that's like, okay, let's see. Why not?
It fell into their lap. It's one of those things that kind of just like, okay, this is a move. You can get a 15-point score, a guy who's averaged around 20 points
right
a few years before that, and
you
didn't give up any assets?
No, and apparently they tried to trade for him before the deadline, so I'm not sure why Brooklyn said
that's
no,
a fumble on Brooklyn's part there. If you could have got something, and you're just like, okay, no, it was probably because the Bucks were probably trying to dump salary, and they're like, we don't want to take whatever.
Right.
Because they were trying to dump salary too, so... Yeah, I think it's a deal that, who knows? They've been playing better basketball of late without Giannis. If Giannis is going to come back for this season and they don't shut him down, and you can stay around 500 or get close to 500, you have a chance to at least make the play-in, and then who knows after that. So I think defensively, they just got to get better on defense. They are just a bad defensive team. Again, transition threes. How many? Like, there's a team that they'll just give up the wide open three and hope that they. It feels like that's their defense. What's your defense on threes? Hope they miss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Really? I mean, that's kind of what it is, isn't it?
Well, what was that guy made 12 3-pointers against him a couple weeks or last week? I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand how. Granted, there's no one left from that championship team other than Portis.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
and Portis in a 3-point competition.
Right.
Too, so.
Like, this is a team that prided itself on defense at one point, and it just how quickly that all fell apart. And now I would put them as one of the worst defensive teams in the league.
God, yeah.
They're giving up 140 points consistently to teams.
Yeah.
When you're giving up that, there's no way you're not going to outshoot teams like that. So that's something I just wish they could have do something about. I don't know what you do at this point. You're kind of stuck with what you got now unless you kind of have a Cam Thomas situation again.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I like it. And, let's see how it plays out. Maybe bring him back next year too.
Yeah.
So why not? Why not see what you got?
There are scores on that team, and if you throw Giannis, there's potential to make some kind of, get something going on offense there. It's just,
and he's only 24 still too, so it's not like he's 30-some years old. You actually got a little younger. So,
I mean, Rollins has kind of been the guy who's stepped up.
Kevin Porter Jr.'s had some really good moments too. So,
and AJ Green, I mean, he's shooting around 45%, 40. He's one of the top 3-point shooters. He just kind of. Sometimes the other shots aren't falling for him there, but they're there's Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma. Like, there are names, there are scores. It's just they all have to be on the court at the same time, which has not happened this season at all. But if you throw in a Cam Thomas and then Giannis comes back, hey, as long as they don't go on like a 15-game losing streak, as soon as this happens, there's always potential.
Yep. A couple texts. Texter, don't have a name. Shoot me your name. Welcome to the club. It looks like a first-time texter. Tyler Black is a third baseman by trade. Maybe that is a plan. I know we kind of mentioned that throughout that possibility there too. Morning, DK Handy Andy here. Where is the WIAC men's hockey tournament held for the Blue Golds? I mean, that's based off seedings, right?
Yeah, it's all about home seeding. So if they get the number one, they'll host throughout as long as they keep winning. So.
Yeah, there's not like just one dedicated spot right away.
Nope. Yeah, so it would be they would probably get a bye in the first round, and then they would host the second and potentially the championship.
And that's coming up at the end of the month, the WIAC tournament.
Yeah.
So
and them and they got Stout this week.
Yeah,
Stout's right there, right behind them. Stout's been playing really good hockey as well. So that'll be that's 2 key games this Friday, and they're both at
Menominee
at the Finetti. But I like to call it the Funfetti, just because of those great brownies. But yeah, the Finetti there, the Dunn County. So
nice.
Got to go on the road and try to pick up some points.
Yep. Thanks for the text, guys. So, all right, we're gonna take a quick break and then we wrap up things. Flying on by on this Monday morning. So we'll be right back after these quick words. wrapping things up here, we got Justice Cleveland, WEAU 13 News joining us. Before we get to picks and such, obviously football season is now over with for a little bit because the NFL never, ever ends, right?
Never.
So,
there's something today probably.
Probably. Well, hey, 1 month from today, legal tampering opens up. So
schedule release will come soon enough.
Combine's coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah. The NFL never goes away.
Nope. So
that's by plan.
Yep. I probably, if you're like your games that are very offensive heavy, wasn't the game for you last night. So, it wasn't the most entertaining, right? I mean, at least the first 3 quarters.
It was what we all kind of feared the game could be.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 up-and-coming teams, not a lot of big-name star power, I put it that way, and it just kind of was a defensive battle there. And we were just talking off air. I feel like the Patriots didn't want to make a mistake with Drake. Didn't want Drake May to make a mistake, so they almost coached it like a backup. You would with a backup quarterback, where they were just not taking any chances until late. Yeah, the fact that he got 295 yards passing is still amazing to me because 51 yards after a half for the whole team, sacked 6 times.
Yeah.
But Seattle just went out there and was the better team on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, this is where I'll credit both those defenses too. Right away, they came out like, we're going to set the tone right away.
Right.
We're going to go after both quarterbacks and such. It was just Seattle's was a little bit better.
Yeah. I think this game was also, just a show of just kind of what the parity is in the NFL. Is that you got these 2 teams that I don't think anybody at the beginning of the season was saying especially like the Patriots coming off their season last year.
Yeah.
And Seattle just was kind of middle of the road. And
remember, Seattle traded their starting quarterback.
Right.
DK Metcalf, where people are like, what are you doing? Trading away a lot of your – tells you how quickly things can change.
And they end up having the offensive player of the year. So they knew that. They knew they had something coming in. And then, 100% credit, to John Schneider for realizing, like Geno Smith just isn't going to be the guy that can take us there.
Yep.
And just rolling the dice on Sam Darnold.
Yep.
And seeing something like, okay, I think this guy's got what it takes. And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It really did. And I think it shows, if you're a team like the Packers, that you're not that far away from being able to make a run.
Right.
Because I don't think any of us, stared at Seattle this year or even New England and like, these are 2 teams that can't lose.
Right.
They were the 2 best teams in their, conference-wise. They were 2 of the dominant teams, but it was like, okay, but they're beatable.
Mm-hmm.
But they just kept winning.
Yep.
Especially Seattle. I think the whole season, I wrote Seattle off the whole season. Like, oh, yeah, whatever. Which is stupid on my part because you look at the division they were playing in.
Yeah.
And how competitive that division was. That should be a first sign of, okay, this team is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if battling the Rams and the 49ers for 4 games and coming out the way they did, I think that shows you that they have the talent. So, again, I think, hats off to John Schneider for being the first GM to ever have 2 completely different rosters come in and win a Super Bowl because usually they don't last long enough.
No.
Once you start clearing out rosters, that's usually when it's like, okay, well, thanks. We'll see you later.
Right.
But for the longevity he has had there in Seattle.
If he's not the best general manager, top 3, I mean, he's for crying out loud, that guy has done a really, really good job.
And the same
there.
goes for Elliott Wolf and the way that the Patriots just kind of revamped under Vrabel and to turn it around that quickly. So both those, the front offices for both those teams. And it is for Seattle, it's kind of funny because I was just thinking about this earlier. It's like Seattle, since around 2000, has always kind of had a tie to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to like Mike Holmgren coaching there, Matt Hasselbeck, the quarterback in those days.
Mike Sherman was the offensive coordinator before he came over.
Yep.
So,
and then you tie it next to when Schneider's there, and you always have that tie kind of going there. And they've done it the right way, and they've always kind of been under the radar.
Yeah,
the way they have done it. I don't think Seattle's ever been that heralded team, even in the Russell Wilson days when they were, they won a Super Bowl. There was always like I felt like always a team that probably the Packers a lot of times, and obviously one of those Super Bowls was at the Packers' expense. So, but I think they've just kind of done it under the radar, but continuously having success. And I know if you want to go buy them. They're for sale.
So, I mean,
got a couple billion laying around.
Is this the first time a defending champion is going to be up for sale right
Yeah,
now.
I know. Smart move on their point.
Right?
Like, if you're going to get Maxicum.
Moly.
Yeah. And it's been a good franchise, so I hope it ends up in good hands because I think the way that they've done things has been done a pretty well way.
Yeah. You mentioned that Packers thing. It's something that I just learned. I saw last week or the week before during the Senior Bowl. Apparently, like, the Packers and the Seahawks will hold joint interviews with players. Like, they get together and do a joint interview with a player. I can't remember who the player was. I think he was a corner from Texas, but he said it was Seahawks and Packers interviewed him at the same time.
That's kind of neat to think that, there's still that kind of working relationship, especially because they were, you go in the early teens to the middle teens. I mean, it was a heated rivalry. Yeah. I mean, obviously
the Fail
Mary, and then the fumble, whatever we call that at that point. But yeah, that was a good rivalry going on between those two teams. So yeah, I think there's kind of always been that little connection there, and good for John Schneider.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how much longer he wants to do it, but he's
got quite the resume now with 2 Super Bowl championships as a GM. So
guy who learned under Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson, and really
Ted
Thompson, another guy who was over in Seattle, wasn't he?
Yep.
Before he was, yeah. So there we go, the connections.
Green Bay West.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just do one game because we're running out of time here. But the Bucs are going to be taking on the Orlando Magic. Just 3 games until the All-Star break, back-to-back against Orlando and then Oklahoma City before the All-Star break. So
Cam Thomas ready to play tonight?
I don't know. I would maybe, hopefully.
He's been playing the whole season. So.
Yeah. You know what? Bucs running a 3-game winning streak. I'm going to go with the Bucs tonight.
Let's keep it going. They've found their mojo.
Yep. Although Giannis was with the team, he was at the Super Bowl last night, apparently. See that video? He was somebody caught him walking out of the stadium. So, yeah.
Oh, man.
What does that mean? Does that mean he wants to be with the Warriors in the offseason? San Francisco, Golden State.
There you go.
Let's connect the dots here.
Tinfoil hat on.
Yep. That's easily got to be what it means, that he wants to be a Warrior next year. So,
yeah. It's when he doesn't play again, then we can talk about it. But if he comes back and plays, I'm fine.
Yeah. I would be shocked. I know there was that thing that they were going to shut him down. I would be shocked to see that happen. So,
the fact that there's still grumblings about them potentially fixing the relationship. I know to me it's a long shot. I'd go for like 1 in 10 that he's still a Buck after the offseason. But if they're still talking about it, there's still a chance.
Yep.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yep. Last thing, too, because I know there was some, obviously on Sundays with football, there's always going to be the latest buzz and rumors. Latest buzz and rumor is that Aaron Rodgers more likely now to come back to the Steelers under Mike McCarthy. It's a cool story, though.
It is.
Isn't it?
They're best buds. We know there's never been any history between those two.
No.
We don't know. I still feel like we don't know the whole story between those two.
Ever know. There's something obviously happened if there's like the phrasing of like Rodgers saying, I have more appreciation for him now than I did before. Right. And it's like, okay, so you didn't like him before. That's what you're saying. Or you had an issue at one point. So.
Yeah. Hey, if your body can handle it, he'll be 44.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trust me. If your body can handle it, go for it.
Yeah. Why not?
Mine doesn't handle getting out of bed most mornings, so.
Yeah. I think if Rodgers does play, it would be one more year with the Steelers and not Minnesota for a year. I think
he would go somewhere that he's established and knows what he has with him instead of having to try to rebuild and not knowing the pieces.
Yep. I would agree. So, all right. We only got about 40 seconds left till the shot clock jumps off. So, sorry, Bruce fans, nothing more to report on Caleb Durbin. And, well, Caleb Durbin's gone, but we don't have anything else to kind of throw out there.
We do have the Daytona 500 this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Daytona 500 plus we have PGA at Pebble Beach.
Yes. Waste Management was this past weekend.
Scotty almost barely makes the cut and then finishes a stroke off the lead. He's starting to. It's Tiger-esque, some of the shots. The putt he made yesterday to get close. And Goddard, who's becoming kind of a star now, getting the win there. Matsuyama kind of fumbling it there on the 18th hole. But, hey,
man, there was a lot of stuff in the last few days. Holy moly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, buddy.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it. Have a good rest of your day. Same place, same time tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Talk to you then.